Chapter 174. If it had been any other water-type monster, Hua Sanyang would not have been able to save her life with what she had taken out. However, Lin Yuan was different. If it had been a fire-type monster, Lin Yuan would have indeed scoffed at it. However, the Fire Kirin's corpse was a different matter for Lin Yuan. He could use all kinds of monster materials to create new monsters in the soldier creation system. The Maro he had created when he was testing the waters had now become Lin Yuan's right-hand man. Therefore, Lin Yuan was still very interested in collecting powerful monster materials. After all, the bloodline in his body would evolve into a true dragon sooner or later. When that time came, the 4 seas would be his goal to conquer, but this did not mean that he would abandon the land. Lin Yuan naturally would not miss the opportunity to create a loyal Kirin to become the king of the earth. Blind Sheen looked meaningfully at Lin Yuan, shook his head gently and said, "Little girl, you want me and the Black Snake to kill each other just because of the Fire Kirin's corpse? You want to sit back and reap the benefits, don't you? Unfortunately, as a demon slayer, you are really a failure. This Black Snake is a water-type monster. Giving it the corpse of a fire-type monster is equivalent to giving it a sudden death poison. Do you think it will really attack?" When he finished speaking, Hua Sanyang's face was obviously much paler. Of course, she knew that the Black Snake was a water-type monster, but she still wanted to take a gamble. After all, the Fire Kirin's corpse was not hers. If she could use some useful information to exchange for a way to survive, it would be a great profit. However, after Blind Sheen's words, even if the Black Snake had been a little tempted before, it would probably have calmed down at this moment. The Fire Kirin's corpse was something the Black Snake could not use. As a Beast King, the Black Snake itself would not be willing to let its subordinates surpass it in strength. After all, that would cause its status as a Beast King to waver. Therefore, the Black Snake would not give the Fire Kirin's corpse to its subordinate. "Then I'm afraid you're thinking too much. I'm quite interested in this Fire Qilin." Lin Yuan glanced at Blind Sheen and said coldly. For some reason, Blind Sheen's eyes lit up when he heard about the Fire Kirin. Now that he heard that Hua Sanyang had more accurate information, he immediately said those words to dispel Lin Yuan's desire for the Fire Kirin's body. After all, as one of the Demon Slayer Masters who led the crusade against the Black Serpent, he would never spare a thought for the Black Serpent. In his heart, he was eager to see the Black Serpent die. In other words, Blind Sheen wanted to monopolize Fire Kirin's corpse. Sure enough, when Lin Yuan's voice fell, Blind Sheen's face turned gloomy. However, Lin Yuan had no intention of talking nonsense with Blind Sheen. Instead, he asked again, "Your lover has already discovered the Fire Kirin's burial site and even gave you a Fire Kirin scale as a gift. Doesn't that mean that the Fire Kirin's body has already fallen into his hands? Do you want to use this information to get a free ride?" Blind Sheen's killing intent rose again. That's right. The Fire Kirin's burial site had already been discovered, and even its scale had been peeled off. How could it still be in the same place? Perhaps Hua Sanyang's lover had already sold it for a good price. Hee. Hua Sanyang laughed dryly. Her eyes were somewhat weak as she said, "If he obtained the Fire Kirin's scale, how could he not have obtained the Fire Kirin's corpse? Seniors, do you think I didn't think so at that time? That's why I tied him up at that time. After a round of torture, he told me that he couldn't get the Fire Qilin's body. He picked up the scale outside the cave and gave it to me to deceive me. He wanted to make me give myself to him, that's all. However, he did indeed see the Fire Kirin's corpse. It was in a cave that they couldn't see the depths of. There were many demonic beasts roaring inside, and all of them sounded extremely irritable. They waited outside for a long time, but they didn't see any demonic beasts leave the cave, nor did they see any traces of demonic beast activity inside the cave. They could only see a Fire Kirin standing at the end of their line of sight, glaring at them. However, that Fire Kirin didn't move even once for several days. Therefore, they knew that the fire Kirin had been dead for a long time. At that time, they didn't believe it, and it was impossible for them to let go of such a great opportunity. They thought that they were well prepared and could fight against anything in the cave. Even if they couldn't defeat it, they could at least escape unscathed. Therefore, they formed a team and wanted to enter the cave to investigate. However, the first batch of guys who entered the cave seemed to have mysteriously disappeared. After entering the cave, there were no traces of them. Only a few screams could be heard from time to time. Speaking of this, there was a touch of fear in Hua Sanyang's eyes. She continued in a trembling voice, "After that, I formed a team and went to that place. Indeed, they saw a fire Kirin. Therefore, we entered the cave and wanted to bring out the fire Kirin's body. However, we didn't expect that as soon as we stepped into the cave, the world before our eyes seemed to have changed. Although we could still see the outline of the cave, demonic beasts with scarlet eyes appeared out of thin air. They seemed to have been hungry for a long time. As soon as they saw us, they immediately pounced on us. Fortunately, our strength was not bad, and we easily killed those demonic beasts that attacked us. However, as we gradually moved forward, the entire cave gradually became hot and dry. Everyone, including me, inexplicably felt agitated and depressed in their hearts. Looking at our companions who were as close as brothers, it was as if they were looking at the enemies who killed their fathers. I don't know who it was, but someone suddenly killed one of their companions. After that, the whole team fell into chaos. Everyone crazily attacked everything they saw. Some people killed each other, and some people died of exhaustion. Humph. Blind Sheen coldly snorted and said in a stiff tone, "It's not difficult for a group of people with weak minds to be affected by evil tricks. However, this old man is very curious. You said you were also affected, so how did you come out of that cave alive?" As far as this old man knows, after being affected by this kind of evil trick, you will either be killed by your companions or die of exhaustion. The fire Kirin. It was the fire Kirin that saved me. As Hua Sanyang spoke, she suddenly became excited and said while dancing with joy, "Before I was exhausted, I saw the scale on my body transform into the appearance of the fire Kirin. When I woke up again, I was already outside the cave. However, none of my companions came out. It was as if they had evaporated into thin air. After that, I didn't dare to enter that cave again." Chapter 175. After Hua Sanyang finished speaking, Lin Yuan and Blind Sheen didn't say anything. The atmosphere couldn't help but turn cold. At this time, Hua Sanyang's eyes lit up. She seemed to have thought of something and said complacently, "Since the two of you are interested in the information about the fire Kirin in my hands, then you must let me go first. Otherwise, I won't tell you anything." Blind Sheen raised his eyebrows and said with a gloomy face, "Ridiculous, you're not the only one who has this information. This old man only needs to kill you and then go to Mountain Blocking City to find your lover. At most, I'll have to spend a little more effort." Although Lin Yuan didn't say anything, his eyes flickered with uncertainty. The burial place of the fire Kirin must be in the Hengduan Mountains, so he had the geographical advantage. Even if Blind Sheen could get the exact information, it couldn't escape his eyes and ears. Even if Hua Sanyang refused to say, he wasn't in a hurry. In any case, he would be able to find the burial place of the fire Kirin sooner or later. After all, there were only a few areas in Mountain Blocking City where the demon-subduing master was active. Hua Sanyang licked her delicate red lips and said with a smile, "Old Senior Qin, it's not that I'm looking down on you, but ask yourself honestly, if such a thing happened to you, would you still be able to keep the guy who might get angry out of humiliation and spread the news?" At this point, Hua Sanyang still had a confident look on her face. She said with a smile, "I'm the only one who has this information about the burial place of the fire Kirin. Unless your luck is heaven-defying and the guy who entered the cave with me has a survivor, and you just happened to run into him." Lin Yuan and Blind Qin looked at each other. At the same time, they silently said in their hearts, "A bootlicker will die a horrible death." This guy used the fire Kirin scale to find his goddess. Not only was he not favored, but he also lost his life. He was really stupid. If he used the fire Kirin scale as evidence and sold the information about the burial place of the fire Kirin to some big force, the benefits he could get would be more than enough for him to eat and wear. Why did he have to go to Hua Sanyang to court death? Lin Yuan shook its head and flicked its forked tongue. It sneered and said, "However, your situation still hasn't changed. If I let you go back to Mountain Blocking City, wouldn't that mean that I won't be able to get anything? Blind Qin was the one who wanted to kill you, but now, I'm the one who wants you dead. What, you don't think that Blind Qin can deal with me, do you?" At this point, Lin Yuan changed the topic and added, "Even if this king isn't his match, he definitely can't do anything to this king. In other words, if this king wants to leave, he can't stop him. If this king wants to kill you, he can't stop him either." Every word was like a clap of thunder, shocking everyone. Blind Qin didn't refute Lin Yuan's words. After all, an existence that could kill Lai Shan in an instant was indeed a real beast king that he couldn't underestimate. Even if it was because of Hua Sanyang's help, it couldn't be denied that Lin Yuan had the strength to fight Lai Shan. If they really fought, even without the support of other demon beasts, Lai Shan wouldn't be a match for Lin Yuan in terms of physical strength. "What do you want?" Hua Sanyang slightly narrowed her eyes. Lin Yuan grinned and beckoned Hua Sanyang with his snake tail. He said indifferently, "Come here and tell me secretly where the fire Kirin is buried. Then, I'll let you leave with Senior Qin. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave." Impudent! Blind Qin's face sank and he immediately roared. However, after roaring, Blind Qin suddenly cleared his throat and said in a deep voice, "Let me introduce myself again. I'm Huozu, an inner disciple of the Tao of Immortal Music. If I tell you directly, you might not understand what kind of power the Tao of Immortal Music is. Let me tell you this, any one of the 7 great empires can only be regarded as an ant in front of my Tao of Immortal Music." "What? You don't have the confidence to defeat me, so you want to use your power to suppress me?" Lin Yuan sneered twice and replied without the slightest bit of fear, "You, Master Snake, are still the Beast King under the jurisdiction of the Monster Beast Imperial Court. Even if the forces behind you can suppress the Monster Beast Imperial Court to bow their heads, Master Snake can easily join the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. Guess if you, a mere inner disciple, are qualified to make the forces behind you enemies with the Monster Beast Imperial Court and the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas?" Comparing background? Blind Qin was at his wits' end, wasn't he? The 7 great empires occupied the entire Sky Martial continent. No matter what this Tao of Immortal Music's origin was, it was still one of the powers formed by the 7 great empires. Even the Monster King Court had to be wary of the 7 great empires, let alone a human's cultivation sect. If the 7 great empires were willing to allow the Tao of Immortal Music to exist, they could still dominate their own territory. If these cultivation sects dared to show the slightest bit of arrogance towards any of the 7 great empires, then there was no need for them to exist. How dare they say that the 7 great empires were ants? Was there such a powerful power in this world? However, even if there was, it didn't matter. In any case, a human's power was a human's power. No matter how strong the Tao of Immortal Music was among the humans' powers, it wouldn't be of much use in the Hengduan mountain range. Blind Qin choked on Lin Yuan's words and was momentarily at a loss for words. If he took out his identity, he could bully small sects and small families. However, he really had no choice now. After all, the remains of the fire Kirin were of great importance. It was fine if he couldn't find it before, but now that there was news, how could he let this matter become complicated? However, he didn't expect the Black Snake's thoughts to be so clear. After all, although the Tao of Immortal Music was powerful, it was not a great power on the level of the empires. It was impossible for it to make the Hengduan mountain range bow its head, and it was even more impossible for the monster king court to hand over a beast king. Not to mention that the black snake was a dragon bloodline demonic beast. Even if the Hengduan mountain range no longer protected it, the dragon palace of the four seas was willing to accept it. Compared to the black snake's background, he was just an inner sect disciple. It seemed that he really couldn't take it out. Old thing, since we've fallen out, then Master Snake won't pretend anymore. Lin Yuan took a step forward, and his heterochromatic eyes flashed with a cold light. He roared, "Unless you do as I say, I will never let you go with this woman. If you have the guts, then kill her and we'll go our separate ways." After these words, Hua Sanyang's beautiful face suddenly turned pale. She originally thought that by offering the news of the fire Kirin, it was tantamount to offering a life-saving talisman. In the end, she didn't expect that it would intensify the conflict between the two sides. Her end would be worse than death. Then there's nothing to talk about. Anyway, we're going to have a fight. Blind Qin caught the Guqin with both hands, and a murderous aura bloomed all over his body. He said in a cold voice, "Let's see who's the real deal. Let me see what kind of ability you, Black Snake, have to compete with me." "That's exactly what I'm thinking." Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with a bright light, and his fighting spirit surged. Chapter 176. Huazhu Dao stroked the zither as if he was caressing the face of his lover. However, as Huazhu Dao moved, sound blades began to condense in front of him. Lin Yuan cast a sideways glance at Lai Shan. There were already several hundred sound blades, and in his perception, the strength of each sound blade was not the slightest bit inferior to that of Lai Shan's spirit, qi, and spirit. If Lai Shan Fuxing were to fight Huazhu Dao, he wouldn't even be able to survive this round of sound blades. Huazhu Dao, you're only SOSO. Every sound blade is as strong as Lai Shan's. However, if Lai Shan couldn't break through this king's defense with one slash, do you think you can break through this king's defense with 100 slashes? Lin Yuan sneered. He manipulated the demonic energy in his body as he tried to distract Huazhu Dao. Huazhu Dao smiled carelessly and said slowly, "You'll know when you try." As soon as he finished speaking, the 100 sound blades shot out at the same time. They instantly crossed 100 meters and appeared in front of Lin Yuan. That wasn't all. The sound blades didn't attack Lin Yuan directly. Instead, as Huazhu Dao continued to play the zither, undead warriors in rotten armor appeared out of thin air. They held the sound blades that appeared before and slashed at Lin Yuan. At this moment, Huazhu Dao's zither music seemed to have a hint of a powerful army. Black Snake, be it in terms of intelligence or strength, you can be considered an extraordinary existence among demonic beasts. It's a pity that you have to die in my hands today. Otherwise, I would really like to see how far you can grow in the future. Huazhu Dao's hands kept plucking the missing string, but his voice wasn't affected by the zither music at all. Today, I will send you on your way with a formation-breaking song. You want to kill this king with mere zither music? Lin Yuan grinned. Invisible ice gathered around him. Every time the sound blades of the undead warriors fell, they would hit an extremely hard block of ice. Using his speed that was much faster than the undead warriors, Lin Yuan kept moving through the formation formed by the undead warriors and sound blade. He kept getting closer to Huazhu Dao. The distance of 100 meters was crossed in the blink of an eye. Clang! The zither strings paused. Daoist Huazhu stood up and lightly tapped the ground with the tip of his foot. Once again, he plucked the strings of the zither. Ripples continuously appeared in front of him. In the short span of a few breaths, he once again opened up a distance of more than 20 meters. However, Lin Yuan was constantly retreating under the transparent ripples. Huazhu sneered as he pulled a safe distance away. The song of golden spears and armored horses breaking the enemy formation sounded again, but this time it was much more hurried than before. The undead warriors that had slowly dissipated due to the zither music solidified their bodies once again. However, they didn't immediately attack Lin Yuan, who was flying backward. Instead, they slowly merged together. When Lin Yuan flew back to his original spot, a headless knight riding a transparent horse suddenly appeared. Lin Yuan didn't have time to react. The knight had already slashed down with the crescent blade in his hand. At this moment, Lin Yuan finally took a closer look at this transparent knight that didn't have a physical body but was more than 100 meters tall. After all, Lin Yuan could even smell the scent of death from this slash. "I don't even know if you're unlucky or if I'm just too lucky." Huazu's seemingly emotional voice sounded. "My song of breaking the enemy formation is the trump card of the immortal music sect. I only learned it by chance. It's also because of this that I was chased out of the immortal music sect and came to Mountain Blocking City to search for information about the Fire Kirin to redeem myself. The special thing about this song is that when my undead warriors merge into one, I can randomly summon a historical general from the underworld to fight for me. However, the general who is killed by the combination is a general, and the general who is killed by the combination is also a general. Therefore, it all depends on luck who I can summon. 3,000 years ago, that martial saint who guarded the country's gate all by himself and repelled 100,000 soldiers on his horse alone was actually able to run into a black snake like you. When Huazu Dao's voice fell, Lin Yuan couldn't help but squint his eyes. Apart from some karmic skills, all skills depended on the individual's ability. Just how strong was that martial saint at the pinnacle of his level? Even Kirin, the beast lord of the Hengduan Mountains, might not be a match for him. There was no doubt that such an existence was summoned from the underworld to the present world at a great cost. Huazu was only a level 9 airborne realm cultivator. Even if he had reached the heavenly strength realm, he would have been drained into a dried corpse right away. Therefore, this feather should be just a projection or an illusion with a certain level of strength. However, there was no doubt that even if Lin Yuan had reached the wisdom realm as a level 6 monster, he still wouldn't be a match for this headless knight. Azure Dragon rolls the sea. Although the headless knight didn't say anything and just maintained his chopping posture, Lin Yuan strangely knew that this was one of Feather's famous skills. It was said that when this blade was chopped down, it had the power of an azure dragon rolls the sea. Boiling blood. There was no time to hesitate at all. Lin Yuan knew that he was locked on by this blade, so he quickly activated his strongest state. His already powerful attributes doubled again, and his aura skyrocketed as well. Humph. Huazu snorted coldly, and his expression became somewhat displeased. He had long guessed that this black snake had a certain trump card. After all, no matter how strong this black snake was, it couldn't be completely different from what was recorded in their intelligence. At most, it had the strength of a level 4 or wisdom realm monster. However, such strength was not enough to take a hit from Lai Shan, and it was not enough to face him without fear. However, he didn't expect the black snake's trump card to be so terrifying. The black snake's demonic aura directly soared to the sky, and even he was firmly suppressed. He was afraid that even a level 10 monster in the wisdom realm would not have such an aura. It was really terrifying. It's too strong, too strong. Hua Sanyang watched the black snake and Huazu fight, and her eyes couldn't help but be absent-minded. Not to mention the headless knight, even the undead warrior from before could easily kill her. However, the black snake was able to perform this kind of attack with ease, and even suppressed Huazu's aura at this moment. Golden body secrets, open. Invisible ice. Thorny whip. The system's skills were activated one after another. The headless knight's azure dragon rolls the sea first chopped on a piece of extremely hard ice, and then the blade immediately cut through the ice like cutting tofu. A moment later, the pale golden snake's tail, like a straight steel spear, met the headless knight's crescent blade. The blade and the snake's tail crossed each other. Huazhu and Hua Sanyang's eyes slowly widened. Chapter 177. After the martial saint's saber fell, he was unexpectedly unable to maintain his momentum. Instead, he was sent flying by the faint golden snake's tail. The momentum of the azure dragon rolls the sea was released again and again. The headless knight raised the crescent moon blade in his hand and seemed to be stunned for a while. Then, his body shook slightly, and his transparent body gradually became transparent until it completely disappeared. Thump! A crisp sound was heard. The remaining 6 strings of the 6-string guqin in front of Huazhu Dao instantly broke, and the tune of breaking the formation stopped at the same time. PFFTT. Huazhu Dao looked at the black snake in a daze and raised his right hand as if to say something to the black snake. He opened his mouth, but he immediately spat out a mouthful of sticky black blood. Lin Yuan glanced at Huazhu Dao indifferently with his heterochromatic eyes. The light in his eyes did not change at all, but he quietly hid the snake tail with broken scales behind his back. The proficiency of golden body secrets on the interface dropped by 5 points. The projection of the martial saint broke his strongest defense and attack with just 1 strike. If it had been for Huazhu Dao's insufficient cultivation, he would have been able to withstand 1 or 2 more strikes from the martial saint, and Lin Yuan would have had no way to survive. However, the final winner of the game was still Lin Yuan. The deal was a loss. Even if Huazhu Dao was at level 9 of the airborne realm and had an extraordinary heritage, there was no way he could have brought about 55 attribute points to Lin Yuan. Even if he had enough attribute points, the area where the golden body secrets would be refined next time might not be the area at the tip of the snake tail. The loss during the refinement period was far more than what the data said. Huazhu Dao struggled to stabilize his body, seemingly wanting to fight a few more rounds with Lin Yuan. However, in just a moment, he knelt on the ground due to his legs going weak. It was obvious that the headless knight's strike was on par with Lin Yuan's, and the recoil on him was not small. It would have been fine if Lin Yuan had died, but at the moment, Lin Yuan's condition was obviously much better than his. In the end, both sides still suffered losses. A cold light flashed in Hua Sanyang's eyes. She sneered and said, "You two are not qualified to know my secrets. Didn't you want to kill me? Come on." At this moment, Hua Sanyang was in a state of madness. After all, ever since Lin Yuan had appeared, she had been on the brink of death several times. At this moment, Black Snake and Huazhu Dao were both injured and unable to move. Now that she had the upper hand, how could she not vent? What responded to her was still Lin Yuan's indifferent, heterochromatic vertical pupils. "You dare to glare at me? Your black snake eyes are rather beautiful. Today I'll pluck your eyes. When I return to Mountain Blocking City, I'll immediately find someone to forge a pair of earrings for me. Consider it an honor for a little demonic beast like you." Hua Sanyang put her hands on her waist and glared back at Lin Yuan, not to be outdone. Head cough cough. Never would I have imagined that a black serpent like you would actually possess so many trump cards. Your level of cunning is not at all inferior to a human's. This old man was not wronged to be defeated by you. Huazhu Dao, whose cultivation was higher, soon realized the reason why Lin Yuan was as calm as Mount Tai. 5 breaths were lurking in the jungle. As the winner was decided, although the 5 breaths were still hidden, their sharpness was directly directed at him and Hua Sanyang. Obviously, these 5 breaths were the ambush troops arranged by Lin Yuan in advance. "TSK, Demon Emperor, it seems that you still don't believe me." Xia Xiu played with the dagger in his hand expressionlessly. He was the first to walk out of the jungle and sneered, "In addition to us 2 brothers, you actually prepared other experts. What? Are you still afraid that we'll kill you as well?" One must always be on guard against others, especially assassins who work for profit. Lin Yuan replied indifferently and said in a deep voice, "I don't believe that you'll become a diehard follower of me just because of my words. In this case, it's more in your interest to kill me. Isn't that right? Xiao En followed behind Xiaoxiu and jumped out of the woods. He pulled the longbow in his hand and pointed the cold arrow directly at Hua Sanyang, who was in a daze, and Hua Zhu Dao, who was vomiting blood. His pair of sharp eyes flashed with a faint cold light, as if any small movement of the two could not escape his eyes. You're right. Assassins are indeed untrustworthy. Especially assassins who betray their own sect. Another cold voice sounded. The shadow walker next to the purple-eyed youth stepped out of the void and stared at Xiaoxiu with a pair of cold eyes, as if he was staring at a corpse. There was no doubt that he would draw his sword at Xiaoxiu in the next moment. A group of guys who can't be seen in the light. What's the point of talking about sex? The fat sword dancer dressed in green beside Su Nan also walked out from the side. He sneered and said, I know that your sect leader is on the bounty list. Every year, there will be countless people on your side assassinating your sect leader. The winner will take everything from the loser and directly take over the position of the sect leader. Does a sect like yours really have the slightest cohesion at all? It's still better than your sword dancers who are assassins but have a warrior style. It's neither fish nor fowl. The Shadow Walker and Xiaoxiu said at the same time. The two who were supposed to be opposing each other actually had the same attitude towards the sword dancers, who were from the same sect. There's another one, who is it? Hua Zhu Dao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with his sleeve, and his eyes fell in the direction behind Lin Yuan. The aura that had not yet appeared was very strong, not even the slightest bit weaker than his peak. Being coldly stared at by such an existence, even Hua Zhu Dao felt a burst of weakness in his heart. This old man is Wine Sword Xian. An old man in sackcloth walked out of the forest step by step with his hands behind his back. A simple self-introduction revealed a majestic aura like a mountain, inexplicably giving people a feeling of incomparable dominance. Wine Sword Xian. Jiu. You are. This is impossible, you should have died long ago. Hua Zhu Dao's eyes were wide open as he stared at the old man in sackcloth in horror, as if he had thought of some shocking secret. In fact, it was indeed so. After all, in today's Shenwu dynasty, Jiu was a taboo surname. Because the Shenwu dynasty's ruler was not rightful, the previous dynasty's royal family had the surname Jiu. At the end of the previous dynasty's destruction, a member of the royal family who was proficient in swordsmanship killed his way to the title of Sword King in the rebel army. But this Sword King, shouldn't he have committed suicide 30 years ago under the encirclement of the Shenwu dynasty's army? Ha, the heavens don't want me to die. Wine Sword Xian casually waved his hand and said lightly, but if the heavens don't accept me, it means that I have unfinished business to do, such as overthrowing Shenwu. Chapter 178. Looking at the strange atmosphere in the field, Hua Sanyang finally remembered what kind of existence this old man in linen clothes was. He was a true Heaven Gang realm expert. His swordsmanship was mysterious. At his peak, he could fight against 100,000 soldiers with his sword. When the true chi of First Yuan enters my stomach, I will be invincible. This sentence was used to evaluate the experts in the Gang Chi realm. The energy in the Heaven Gang realm cultivator's body had evolved from true chi to another kind of energy. His body was constantly absorbing the spiritual energy between heaven and earth to replenish his body. Even if his body was weak, with the support of the Gang Chi, he would have a physique and recovery ability that was not inferior to demonic beasts. Every move of his could carry dozens of tons of terrifying strength. This was the reason why Heaven Gang realm experts could fight against demonic beasts of the same level. But why would such an existence serve a snake demon of the wisdom realm? Could it be that you want to? Hua Sanyang felt that she knew too much. Just looking at the majestic black snake, her hot body was already trembling like a sieve. The Shenwu dynasty was not rightful. This king only promised this old man that when he was strong enough, he would gather a group of demonic beasts to help him restore the dynasty. Lin Yuan's eyes were indifferent. He had no intention of hiding anything. A Heaven Gang realm expert in his hand was Lin Yuan's biggest trump card. If it was not for Jiu Jianxian, who was only willing to deal with the cultivators of the Xinwu dynasty, no one in the entire periphery of the Hengduan Mountains would be his match. Huazhu Dao took a deep breath. There was a bit of fear in his eyes as he looked at the black snake. He thought that the black snake's target was only the periphery of the Hengduan Mountains. Even if it was angry this time, it would at most vent its anger on Zhongshan City. But he never thought that the shadow of the black snake had shrouded the entire Xinwu dynasty. Even the most powerful existence of the remnants of the previous dynasty was willing to serve the black snake. One must know that although the Jiao clan of the previous dynasty had lost its throne, it was still a real old dynasty. The power in the shadows was far from what the Xinwu dynasty could compare with. There would even be an assassination attempt on the emperor every 2 to 3 days. If it wasn't for the emperor's peerless martial prowess, the world would have been in chaos long ago. Lord Blacksnake, please spare my life. I'm willing to swear on my cultivation to serve you loyally. Huazhu Dao's forehead was dripping with cold sweat. His half-kneeling posture had completely changed to a kneeling posture. He was a smart man. Naturally, he could see that even if the people called by the Black Snake were not on good terms with each other, the general situation was still in the hands of the Black Snake. Moreover, the Black Snake had unscrupulously revealed his secret. Obviously, he did not intend to give face to the immortal music sect behind him. When this matter was over, he and Hua Sanyang would not be able to survive. Mr. Jiu, what do you think? Lin Yuan turned his head to look at the wine sword profound, and a ray of light flashed across his heterochromatic eyes. With my eyes, the wine sword profound teased. Then, his face turned serious and he said in a deep voice, "This guy can rely on you to save his life today. In the future, he may betray you and me in order to save his life. Now, his wings are not fully grown. The Xinwu dynasty only needs to stretch out a finger to crush you, the future demon emperor, right?" As soon as the wine sword profound's voice faded, the other 4 people in the field moved almost at the same time. In the blink of an eye, Huazhu Dao's neck was pierced by 4 daggers at the same time. His breathing stopped and he was dead. What about you? Are you going to resist stubbornly or cooperate obediently? Lin Yuan raised his eyelids and looked at Hua Sanyang's face. If he had not blocked the headless horseman's saber and was unable to move, he would have killed Huazhu Dao with his own hands. At this moment, he could only watch helplessly as he missed the big gift of attribute point. Hua Sanyang took a deep breath and said with a pale face, "Don't joke around. You've told me so many secrets. Whether I'm worthy of you or not, I'm still going to die. In that case, why should I tell you about the fire Kirin?" Xia Siyu suddenly laughed and said with a playful face, "That's a big difference. If you obediently tell us everything you know, after we confirm it, the demon emperor will naturally give you a quick death. But if you don't want to tell us anything, then I'm sorry, but I think you'll regret it. Why did you have to be so stubborn in front of the Shadow Walker?" The fatty nodded cooperatively and said with a fake smile, Yes, miss. Let me tell you, this group of Shadow Walkers are all demons. They especially like stubborn people. No matter how stubborn you are, they can grind your bones inch by inch and then get the information they want." "Shut up, fatty," the Shadow Walker and Xia Siyu said in unison again. They were all from the same sect. It was as if the Shadow Walker would torture people, while the sword dancer's side was clean. Wasn't this a typical case of the guilty party complaining first? "Then, the negotiation is over." Lin Yuan glanced at Xia Siyu and said, "Take her away. After you get the information I want, come to my lair and find me." Congratulations, host, for completing the second phase of the Black Serpent Crusade. Seesaw. Reward, 1,000 war points. Black Serpent Crusade Final Phase. Counterattack. Begin. Mission requirements. Host, please lead the angry demon beasts to break through mountain blocking city and trample all the high and mighty humans under your feet. Tell them that your dignity is inviolable. Completion reward: 2,000 war points. Failure punishment: 2,000 war points deducted. With the end of Lin Yuan's raid, there was no longer any hope for the human camp. Being trampled by the demon beasts was something that would happen sooner or later. Therefore, it was normal for the system to directly judge the completion of the second phase of the war. However, the requirement of the third phase made Lin Yuan speechless. Bai Lu went all out to give Lin Yuan a buff that doubled his attributes even when he was in a weakened state. He was afraid that the surviving humans would escape back to Mountain Blocking City and pass the news of the demon beast horde in the periphery of the Hengduan Mountains to the Shenwu dynasty. Because if that happened, the 7 dynasties would definitely join forces to pressure the demon beast palace and force them to hand over all the beast kings that participated in this demon beast horde as an example to others. However, this final phase of the mission required Lin Yuan to lead the demon beasts to attack Mountain Blocking City. If this mission could not be completed, not only would he have to spit out all the rewards he had received, he would also have to deduct a portion of his attribute points to make up for the difference. Even if he was the winner of this Black Serpent Crusade, he would not gain any benefits. Chapter 179. Lin Yuan felt as if the snake's head had grown bigger. This mission was in conflict with the will of the demonic beasts. Although he could lead the demonic beasts from the Stoneclaw Forest to attack Mountain Blocking City, he could also get the support of the members of the Demonic Emperor Association. However, Lin Yuan was definitely not willing to do such a thing that would harm others without benefiting himself. If there was no involvement of a beast king with such a deep background like Bai Lu, the monster beast imperial court would probably hand him over without the need for the Green Swamp clan to operate. Taking a step back, even if the demonic beast royal court was unyielding this time, the surrounding beast kings might have thoughts of swallowing him up after seeing his strength greatly reduced. Especially the Cold Pool Crane, who had an old grudge with the demonic beasts from the Stoneclaw Forest, would definitely be the first to jump out and hit him while he was down. Demonic beasts are coming. Let's go. The Wine Sword Enigma suddenly opened his eyes wide and swung his sleeves, sweeping up the 4 assassins and the pale-faced Hua Sanyang and disappearing from this area. Lin Yuan maintained his majestic and motionless appearance. The snake head slowly turned around, and he saw King Kong, whose muscles were shining with a metallic luster, leading hundreds of Wisdom State demonic beasts into his line of sight. These demonic beasts all had monstrous blood chi. From afar, it looked like a wave of blood was crashing over. God knows how many demon slayers these demonic beasts had slaughtered in the human camp. Black Snake, why are you here? Vajra's thunderous voice exploded once again. He frowned as he glanced at the corpse of Huazhu and Lai Shan, who had been turned into meat paste by Lin Yuan. Only then did his brows relax a little. He opened his mouth again and said, "You killed them all? Blind Qin and Lai Shan both died in my hand." Lin Yuan grinned, revealing a bitter smile. He continued, "But as you can see, I can't move now and will need at least an hour to recover." However, Blind Qin and Lai Shan brought up the rear and allowed Hua Sanyang to continue running. "I don't think we can catch up to her." When Lin Yuan's voice fell, the joy in Vajra's heart completely disappeared. 3 human experts had escaped. If he could kill them all, this matter could be resolved. But now that Hua Sanyang had escaped, it meant that Lai Shan and Blind Qin had been killed for nothing. However, King Kong opened his mouth several times, but he couldn't say a single word to blame Black Snake. After all, the demonic beasts in the outer regions of the Hengduan Mountains all knew of Blind Qin's great name. He was an existence that had once hunted down a beast king that was close to the Mountain Lord realm. The fact that Lin Yuan was able to catch up to these humans and brazenly kill Blind Qin and Lai Shan was already an extremely outstanding achievement. If this news were to spread back to the Hengduan Mountains, the reputation of this black snake would definitely be much more resounding than these veteran beast kings. I'll go after him. King Kong patted his chest and was about to stride toward Mountain Rampart City. You won't be able to catch up to him. Hua Sanyang has already escaped. Even if she's not as fast as you, she can still enter the line of sight of the sentry tower of Mountain Rampart City before you can catch up to her. Do you think you can still kill Hua Sanyang in front of all the humans of Mountain Rampart City and then swagger away? Don't be silly. In the past, Senior Three-Eyed Ape swept through Mountain Rampart City and forced the previous city lord of Mountain Rampart City to sign a treaty forbidding them from hunting in the outer regions of the Hengduan Mountains. Since then, the humans have never allowed demonic beasts of Wisdom Realm and above to come close to Mountain Rampart City. If you chase after her now, are you planning to sacrifice your life to clear the path for us? You should know that the Shunwu dynasty is pressuring the demonic beast king court. With just the Vajra ape tribe behind you, you won't be able to protect a beast king in the outer regions. Lin Yuan's voice slowly rang out. It was like a demon tempting humans to fall, but also like the sigh of a god. Coupled with the skill effect of the World Tyrant song, Lin Yuan's brainwashing ability was directly maxed out. Sure enough, after being pointed out by Lin Yuan, the killing intent in King Kong's eyes dissipated a little. He frowned and said, "Then tell me what we should do. Are we going to let Hua Sanyang leave, and then report to the Shunwu dynasty that we organized a large-scale demonic beast tide? If that's the case, none of us will be able to escape." That being said, King Kong no longer had any desire to chase after them. Demonic beasts were all realistic creatures. Although King Kong did not have any enmity with the other beast kings, their territories were relatively close to each other. Usually, there would be some friction between them. At this time, King Kong naturally would not be stupid enough to exchange his life for the safety of the other beast kings. If they were going to die, they would die together. If you ask me, why don't we wait for Bai Lu and the others to catch up? Then, we can take advantage of the situation and directly attack Mountain Rampart City. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flickered with a cold light, but his thoughts were exceptionally clear. He sneered and said, "You see, although Hua Sanyang is being chased by us, with Lai Shan and Blind Qin covering the rear, she definitely won't believe that I can kill the two top demon slayers in Mountain Rampart City. Therefore, she will definitely relax. At the very least, she won't release the signal when she just entered Mountain Rampart City's line of sight. If we are fast enough, we can directly break through Mountain Rampart City before Hua Sanyang can explain the situation." "Are you crazy?" King Kong's face immediately fell. As a border city that defended against the attacks of demonic beasts, Mountain Rampart City's fortifications had been reinforced many times. Especially after the Three-Eyed Ape swept through Mountain Rampart City, the fortifications of Mountain Rampart City could definitely make the demonic beasts despair. Even if they could break through Mountain Rampart City's defenses and kill their way into the city, what was the difference between that and confessing? "Since we're going to die anyway, do you have any other choice?" Lin Yuan rolled his eyes and snappily said, "Since the new city lord of Mountain Rampart City took office, they have already started 2 wars against us. Including the one started by the Demon Slayers Association, it's already 3 times. Therefore, it's normal for Mountain Rampart City's defenses to be weak. If all these demon slayers died in the demonic beast forest, then wouldn't it be normal for ordinary demonic beast tides to break through Mountain Rampart City?" At this point, Lin Yuan lowered his voice and said, "Besides, the Shunwu dynasty can't force the demonic beast imperial court without any evidence. After all, they are now in constant internal strife. If they provoke the beast lord, I'm afraid they won't even be able to protect their country, right? As long as we keep our hands clean, there won't be any problems." King Kong fell into deep thought. In a sense, he felt that the black snake's words made sense. After all, as long as they killed all these humans before they spread the news, the humans wouldn't have any evidence and naturally wouldn't be able to find trouble with them. However, the rationality in his heart kept reminding him that the black snake's words were fallacious. Although he couldn't find any rebuttal points, he was sure that the black snake was definitely fooling him. Anyway, I'm just saying, what to do is still up to you. Do you want to quietly wait for death, or do you want to go all out? Lin Yuan smiled and directly released his ultimate move. Chapter 180. Waiting for Death, or Going All Out? King Kong's expression kept changing. From time to time, it would raise its head to look at the smiling Lin Yuan. It vaguely had an illusion that this black snake didn't care about this matter being leaked. You guessed it right. I really don't care about this matter being leaked. Lin Yuan guessed King Kong's intention and directly pointed out its doubt. Don't forget that I'm not a member of a big clan in the Hengduan Mountains. I'm just a loner. However, I still have dragon blood in my body. If the Monster Beast Palace gives up on me, I still have the protection of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. I believe that the Shenwu dynasty in Linhai won't offend the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas just because of a beast tide caused by a human provocation. What the fuck? King Kong was silent for a moment and spat out a swear word that it had learned from the humans. It had never seen such a shameless existence like the Black Snake. It was clearly the Black Snake's own trouble. First, it forced them to help, but the matter became bigger and bigger. Now that trouble came knocking on their door, the Black Snake suddenly said that it could actually escape unscathed, directly throwing the mess to the monster kings who could have stayed out of it. At the same time, the Cold Pool Crane and Bai Lu also led the rest of the monster beasts to chase after them. The Black Snake smiled and pouted in the direction of Bai Lu. You see, I'm not the only one who thinks so. They brought all the monster beasts here because they were worried that I didn't kill all the humans, so they were prepared for the worst from the beginning to attack Mountain Blocking City. King Kong. It still felt that the Black Snake was fooling it, but it couldn't deny that what the Black Snake said was indeed reasonable. The Shenwu dynasty in Linhai couldn't offend the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. Otherwise, the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas wouldn't even need to take action. As long as they stirred up trouble in the coastal area, the income of the Shenwu dynasty would be reduced by more than half in a few years. At that time, even the border army might not be able to maintain. Therefore, as long as the demonic beast imperial court was willing to give an explanation, such as the King Kong, the Cold Pool Crane, and the dozen or so beast kings without any background, like the White Deer who had a large clan behind them, and the Black Snake who had a dragon bloodline, there was no need to hand them over. After all, the Shenwu dynasty only wanted to save face. If the other side really insisted on not letting go, the Black Snake could just abolish the contract signed between the Three-Eyed Ape and the Mountain Blocking City. Then, the Shenwu dynasty would naturally relent. However, whether or not the contract was broken was only a verbal agreement. The fact that the Demon Slayer Guild dared to openly organize an army to enter the Hengduan Mountains to hunt down the Black Snake meant that they didn't care about the contract at all. Especially after the death of the Three-Eyed Ape, the Stoneclaw Forest was no longer a threat to humans. King Kong's face fell as he conveyed what the Black Snake had told him to the other Beast Kings. Instantly, the dozen or so Beast Kings' faces became unsettled. After all, no one was willing to hand their heads over to fate. Moreover, there were similar examples. The demonic beast imperial court might not protect them. Just as the Black Snake said, with its background, the Shenwu dynasty didn't have any deep enmity with it. As long as the Black Snake was willing to give face to the Shenwu dynasty, they wouldn't touch the Black Snake. As for the matter of killing the human experts, the deaths of Lai Shan and Blind Sheen already proved that the Black Snake had tried its best. If it were them, they might not even have the confidence to keep Lai Shan and Blind Sheen alive. They might even be killed by the two experts instead. Therefore, they had no excuse to blame the Black Snake. Attacking the mountain-blocking city had become their only choice. Humph, trash! The cold pool crane coldly snorted and once again interjected with a strange tone. Lin Yuan shook his huge snake head and said coldly, "Yes, I'm a good-for-nothing. I traveled 2,000 miles alone to intercept and kill 3 top powerhouses of the Demon Slayers, but I only managed to kill 2 of them. I'm really not as good as a Beast King who watched the show from the back." Who watched the show? The cold pool crane's face instantly turned red after being rebuked by Lin Yuan's strange tone. All the demonic beasts had contributed greatly in this battle. Even the weaker Beast Kings had participated in the assault on the human camp. The white deer had paid the price of its own weakness to strengthen the black serpent's condition. Although the black serpent hadn't fully exerted itself, it hadn't disappointed the demonic beast. It had killed 2 of the 3 top-notch experts. Even Blind Sheen, who had killed a Beast King close to the Mountain Lord realm, had died at its hands. In comparison, the cold pool crane didn't have to watch the show from the back. However, in this war, it didn't have any achievements to show. Even the defensive barrier of the human camp was broken by King Kong. It only killed a few demon slayers while it was at it. If you didn't watch the show, you should prove yourself later. Lin Yuan added another stab with a smile that wasn't a smile. "TSK, we have to attack Mountain Blocking City anyway. This king will be the vanguard." The cold pool crane stared at Lin Yuan with red eyes. It looked like it wanted to kill this black snake with its gaze. In its superior state, it didn't even think and directly agreed. After the cold pool crane finished speaking, all the Beast Kings fell silent. They all looked at it as if it was an idiot. Previously, because of the purple-eyed youth, the human camp didn't have enough supplies. Therefore, the Demon Slayers could only activate the basic defensive barrier to survive. They didn't have any combat weapons to fight against the beast tide. However, Mountain Blocking City was different. Everyone knew that the first person to charge at Mountain Blocking City wouldn't have a good ending. Therefore, even though the Beast Kings knew that they had to attack Mountain Blocking City, none of them opened their mouths to take on the task of being the vanguard. "I'm not." The cold pool crane knew that it had misspoken and immediately wanted to make up for it. Then it's decided. Let's see the cold pool crane king show your prowess later. As the cold pool crane's enemy, Bai Lu decisively stood on Lin Yuan's side after discovering Lin Yuan's potential. When the other Beast Kings saw Bai Lu's attitude, they were naturally willing to see the cold pool crane take on this unlucky task. Therefore, they all started to flatter the cold pool crane. If they didn't forcefully push the blame onto the cold pool crane, who would take on this unlucky task when the cold pool crane casually brushed it off? Bai Lu was weak. Black Snake was heavily injured. Vajra battle achievements. It couldn't be these 3, right? You. Very good. Little Black Snake, just you wait for this king. The cold pool crane's eyes flashed with a murderous glint as it said coldly, "You better hope that this king dies in battle. Otherwise, when this king is done with the humans, you will be the first to be sacrificed to the heavens. When that time comes, we'll see who can save you." Chapter 181. 3 days later. The horde of beasts approached the area where Zhaban City was located. Along the way, the system in Lin Yuan's mind kept refreshing the information about the appearance of wild beasts. However, how could the cultivators who lived in a border city like Zhaban City be fools? When the human cultivators saw such a large scale of the beast horde, they would not have any thoughts of provoking them. They retreated in the direction of Zhaban City without looking back. After all, if they left too late and the gates of Zhaban City were closed, the cultivators who were trapped outside the city would be the first wave of cannon fodder to fight against the monsters. Something's not right. Bai Lu narrowed his eyes slightly and said doubtfully, If Hua Sanyang has already fled back to Zhaban City, there shouldn't be any idle human cultivators moving around outside the city. Moreover, Zhaban City doesn't seem to have made any preparations. It's as if they don't know that we're going to attack Zhaban City. King Kong thumped his chest and sneered, saying, "These humans have been suppressing us monsters in the Hengduan Mountains for hundreds of years. I guess they didn't expect that we would dare to attack Zhaban City." At this point, King Kong's eyes narrowed as killing intent bloomed in an instant. He growled, "These humans don't take us seriously at all." As more and more cultivators fled back to Zhaban City, the news of the beast horde naturally spread like wildfire. At this moment, Zhaban City did not hesitate at all and immediately activated the defensive formation. From afar, it looked like a light blue bubble had wrapped Zhaban City in the middle. Further away, a group of 13 riders rode their horses over. The knight in the lead pulled on the reins and forcefully stopped the horse with his brute strength. He slowly raised the thick lance in his hand and coldly looked at the aggressive tide of beasts. He roared in a low voice, "All of you, stop right there! How dare you openly violate the treaty signed between the Hengduan Mountains and the 7 dynasties and invade the territory of the human race? This man is called Luo Tianqi, the commander of Zhaban City's Guard Corps. He's at level 8 of the airborne realm. It's said that he was promoted by the previous city lord of Zhaban City. The city lord has changed for 2 generations, yet he still holds the military power of Zhaban City. He's an amazing person." Bai Lu came to Black Snake's side. He seemed to be afraid that Black Snake did not know the leader of the riders, so he explained. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flickered with a faint light. "A new emperor brings his own ministers." This saying was not only applicable to the court where civil and military officials stood. Even the local city lords would not be willing to let people who were not on the same side as them control the great power under their jurisdiction. Since Luo Tianqi was able to hold the military power of Mountain Blocking City even after the previous city lord stepped down, he either had a powerful force supporting him from behind, or he had the lifeline of the city lord of Mountain Blocking City in his hands. Therefore, this so-called Mountain Blocking City Guard Corps had most likely been cultivated by Luo Tianqi into his own private army. In the future, even if the purple-eyed youth were to rebuild Zhongshan City, he would not be able to directly control the military. If Luo Tianqi did not die, he would become a huge obstacle. His eyes were filled with killing intent, and he had no intention of hiding it. What's the point of talking nonsense with him? We can't just let him finish his sentence and leave, right? Lin Yuan sneered and said indifferently, "Once we destroy Zhongshan City, the humans will have no evidence. The monster beast Imperial Court will naturally protect us. But if things have reached this stage and you retreat, you will not only lose face, but all the monsters in the Hengduan mountain range will not be able to raise their heads. At that time, even without the 7 great empires saying anything, the monster beast emperor will probably deal with us internally. Kill." After hearing Lin Yuan's words, King Kong decisively launched the bugle of charge. Now that things had come to this point, they really had no way out, so it didn't matter whether the Black Snake was bluffing them or not. Nay! The charge launched by more than 100,000 demon beasts was not something that the ordinary bloodline warhorses under the command of Luo Tianqi and the other knights could ignore. With this momentum, even the azure-maned Horse King had to kneel down. Without any buffer, coupled with the fact that their mounts were frightened, this battle was obviously not something that the riders could fight. Once they were bitten by the monsters, they would not be able to escape death. Retreat. Luo Tianqi's face was gloomy as he stabbed the lance in his hand into the ground. Rumble. In an instant, the soil in front of Luo Tianqi began to squirm as if it had a life of its own, and soon formed an earthen wall. The demon beasts that had just rushed out were blocked by this earthen wall before they could come into contact with Luo Tianqi and his subordinate. Die. King Kong's muscles shone with a metallic luster. With a shoulder strike, he broke the earthen wall and smashed 2 unlucky riders who fell down due to their horses being frightened into meat paste. Once again, he chased after the monsters with large strides. The rest of the demonic beasts roared and chased after King Kong through the gap. Boom! 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 Before he could run far, a series of loud noises exploded in his ears. More than 100,000 demon beasts might seem frightening, but there were simply too many of them. Furthermore, they were standing close together. The cannons on the city walls of Mountain Blocking City were not just for decoration. Seeing that Luo Tianqi failed to negotiate with the demon beasts, they immediately opened fire. In just a breath's time, thousands of demonic beasts had been blasted to pieces by the cannon fire. However, the bloody stench did not frighten the demonic beasts. Instead, they became even more bloodthirsty. Their eyes were bloodshot as they continued to charge towards Mountain's rampart city. After all, even the Beast King had an invisible blade placed on his neck. What more these demonic beasts? Today they would either kill all the humans in Mountain Rampart City. Otherwise, they would have to return to the Hengduan Mountains to await their deaths. In the name of the ancestors, I bestow upon you courage and strength. Bai Lu chanted softly beside Lin Yuan as a layer of white light flashed from his body. Ding! Host has received a status enhancement. Attack power increased by 5%. Ding! Host has received a status enhancement. Courage increased. Although Lin Yuan did not know what a courage increase was, after receiving the status enhancement from Bai Lu's family, Lin Yuan no longer felt the slightest bit of fear as he looked at the roaring cannons. All monsters, use your long-range skills to cover Mountain Rampart City's defensive barrier and break this turtle shell as quickly as possible. The cold pool crane, who was leading the charge, roared. As it flapped its wings, countless black feathers formed from demonic energy whistled towards the blue defensive barrier like steel blades. The other monsters followed suit and used their long-range attacks to attack Mountain Rampart City. In an instant, the might of their attacks was not much weaker than the cannons of Mountain Rampart City. Chapter 182. Hey, new recruit, why are you in a daze? Hurry up and help move the ammunition. Star Destroyer crossbows. Where are the Star Destroyer crossbows? Hurry up and move them over. F***ck, shoot that bird. That bird's flames are so fierce. Spirit stones, bring the spirit stones over. The energy of the defensive barrier is running out. The top of Mountain Blocking City's city wall was in a mess. Almost everyone was yelling. It had been a long time since the Hengduan mountain range's demonic beasts attacked Mountain Blocking City. Moreover, that time, it was just a personal grudge between the three-eyed ape and the demon slayer master, so it wasn't as grand as this. However, this time, the demonic beast horde consisted of more than 100,000 demonic beasts, with a total of 10 to 20 beast kings and close to 10,000 wisdom state demonic beasts. It was obvious that they weren't just here to take revenge on the Demon Slayer Master Association. The people of Mountain Blocking City didn't dare to take the risk because they knew that once these demonic beasts breached Mountain Blocking City, all of them might die. Therefore, some of the idle human cultivators spontaneously walked up to the top of the city wall and began to assist the Mountain Blocking City's defense army. Even so, a demonic beast horde of such a scale wasn't something that Mountain Blocking City, whose strength had been greatly reduced, could handle. The light blue defensive barrier only lasted for about an hour before it was shattered. Although it didn't last as long as the campsite, the comparison was still obvious. Back then, only a few dozen wisdom state demonic beasts attacked the campsite, and the only one that could cause irreparable damage to the defensive barrier was King Kong. As Mountain Blocking City occupied a large area, even if the demonic beasts swarmed it, it wouldn't be crowded. Therefore, the demonic beasts attacking Mountain Blocking City's defensive barrier weren't just a few dozen or a few hundred demonic beasts, but more than 100,000 demonic beasts. Even a peak Heaven Dipper realm expert would instantly turn into ashes under such an attack. From this, it could be seen how terrifying this defensive barrier was. Of course, the defensive barrier in Mountain Blocking City wasn't considered a high-end product. Compared to the one in Shenwu Dynasty's imperial capital, which was said to be able to gather the power of the entire city to withstand a world-destroying attack, this defensive barrier was like a piece of junk. One after another, demonic beasts charged up the city walls and engaged in close combat with the human cultivators. At this moment, the humans' weakness had been exposed. Under the attack of the demon beasts, the humans' defense line was easily torn apart like a piece of thin paper. In less than 10 minutes, the human had already lost the city wall, and the battle had extended to the streets and alleys. However, in this narrow terrain, the human's body still had a certain advantage. Many demon beasts were somewhat unable to display their full strength, so the battle situation was very stalemate for a while. However, the demonic beasts had to pay a price to get to the top of the city wall. Especially on the human side, there was a huge ballista called the Star Destroyer crossbow. Although Lin Yuan didn't know what kind of crossbow bolts made of metal and engraved with strange inscriptions were, even if he saw them, he would feel a burst of palpitation. In the chaotic battle just now, not to mention the Wisdom State demonic beasts, even the Beast Kings were killed by the Star Destroyer crossbows. Not even a complete corpse was left behind. The demon beasts that are good at speed have already been sent out. They are currently conducting a carpet search with Mountain Blocking City as the center. King Kong stepped to the side of Lin Yuan, who was standing at the top of the city wall, and said in a deep voice, however, "Humans are cunning after all. It is not impossible for them to have some means of communication between their cities that we don't know about. At this point, we have already done our best. Next, we can only leave it to fate." The battle in the city was still ongoing. Lin Yuan and Bai Lu, one was seriously injured, while the other was buffed by the hundreds of thousands of demon beasts. At this moment, they were so weak that they couldn't even stand properly. Naturally, they didn't personally enter the battlefield to fight with the humans. Instead, they played the role of military governor at the end of the battlefield. As for King Kong, he had already made a round of killing on the streets of Mountain Blocking City, which were considered spacious for the demon beasts. Continue. Remember, don't leave a single person alive. Lin Yuan nodded his huge snake head. A cold light bloomed in his heterochromatic eyes. He sneered and said, "In any case, I won't be able to help in a large-scale battle. I'll leave for a while. I have some personal matters to settle." Although Lin Yuan didn't say it directly, everyone was well aware of this black snake's personal matters. The Lu clan of Mountain Blocking City had targeted Lin Yuan time and time again. Even this time, the demon subduing masters had organized an alliance to attack the Hengduan mountain range because the Lu clan had paid a generous reward. How could Lin Yuan not return the favor to the Lu clan? "Do you need my help?" King Kong rubbed his head and asked with a smile. The King Kong ape and the mountain-shaking ape were close relatives. When the mountain-shaking ape's cub was stolen, the King Kong ape was also infuriated. After the investigation, it was found that the group of demon-subduing masters didn't deliberately rob the cub. Instead, it was the Lu clan's generous reward that made those fellows take the risk to enter the Hengduan mountain range. Now that there was an opportunity to take revenge on the Lu clan, how could King Kong miss it? At the same time, in the Lu clan's mansion, Fang Tian's face was flushed red as he drank the wine in his cup. His originally clear eyes were filled with streaks of blood vessels. Listening to the deafening battle cries outside the house, he felt that his brain was a complete mess. Since when did the demon-subduing masters of Mountain Blocking City become so useless? Tens of thousands of demon-subduing masters, including the demon-subduing group of the Empire and the demon-subduing group of the surrounding cities, couldn't even deal with a small Stoneclaw forest? It would be fine if they couldn't deal with it. After all, Fong Tian had the identity of the Lu clan's old ancestor. With the enormous wealth of the Lu clan, wouldn't it be easy for him to deal with that black snake in the future? However, things didn't go as he wished. Not only did this group of useless demon-subduing masters fail to kill the Stoneclaw Forest and the Black Snake, they even failed to bring back the pure dragon blood he needed. On the contrary, not a single one of the tens of thousands of demon-subduing masters returned. It was as if they were all killed by the demonic beasts. Today, those demonic beasts seemed to have eaten the wrong medicine. Each of them bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they slaughtered their way into Mountain Blocking City. Only now did he realize that all the beast kings in the surrounding regions of Mountain Blocking City had been provoked. Moreover, they didn't seem to have any intention of negotiating. As long as they saw a human, they would slaughter them. Who knew what those demon-subduing masters, who would do anything for the sake of benefits, did in the Hengduan mountain range to provoke so many beast kings? Old ancestor, you, the woman who was saved by Lin Yuan, once walked into the main hall with a bag on her back. She carefully asked, "Everyone has packed up and can leave through the secret passage at any time. My father asked me to ask old ancestor if you want to leave with us or stay in Mountain Blocking City to stop the demonic beast." Chapter 183. Sigh. Fong Tian sighed. His gaze swept across the Lu clan's mansion with great nostalgia as he said regretfully, "What a pity. We won't be able to return to Mountain Blocking City anymore." As the #1 clan in Mountain Blocking City, the Lu clan was the most powerful clan aside from the two giants, the Demon Slayer Association and the City Lord's Mansion. Coupled with their huge wealth, the Lu clan was constantly being coveted by others. Therefore, when the Lu clan was handing over the City Lord's mansion, they had long dug a tunnel under the Lu clan's mansion that led outside the city. As long as there were any unforeseen events in Mountain Blocking City, the Lu clan's disciples could retreat to a safe place at any time. Such a secret tunnel was not an escape route for the City Lord's mansion and the Demon Slayer Association. The men of sacrifice that the Lu clan had raised for so many years finally came in handy. In order to prevent the demonic beasts from becoming suspicious, those men of sacrifice had long disguised themselves as important figures of the Lu clan and stayed behind to guard the Lu clan's mansion. They were prepared to fight to the death. However, the Lu clan's escape meant that the Lu clan's name would be removed from Mountain Blocking City. Even if Mountain Blocking City was rebuilt into a new city in the future, there would be no place for the Lu clan. Almost all the nearby cities had clans similar to the Lu clan, and they would not allow the Lu clan to take root and sprout under their noses. Therefore, the Lu clan's only way out was to develop in some towns that were not at the level of a city. However, in that case, the Lu clan would inevitably decline with the passage of time. Unless a group of very powerful young people appeared, the Lu clan of Mountain Blocking City would become a thing of the past. In the future, the Lu clan would at most be considered a country squire, but they would no longer be considered an aristocratic family. Leave? None of you will be leaving. Without waiting for Fong Tian's reply, Lin Yuan's cold voice had already sounded. In an instant, the temperature of the entire Lu clan's mansion seemed to have dropped by more than 10 degrees out of thin air. Even though she was wearing a long-sleeved robe, the woman could still feel a gust of cold wind blowing against her face. "Black Snake, don't push it too far." Fong Tian slapped the table and stood up. True energy circulated in his body as he stared fiercely in the direction of the sound. It was all thanks to this black snake that the Lu family had fallen into such dire straits. Therefore, when facing Lin Yuan, Fong Tian found it difficult to suppress the anger in his heart. In addition, he had drunk a lot of wine due to his depressed mood. Now that he was facing his enemy, Fong Tian even ignored the fact that Mountain Blocking City was filled with demonic beasts. He glared at Lin Yuan and wanted to attack him. "Going too far? Am I bullying you, or are you seeking your own death?" Lin Yuan maintained the body of a normal snake as he slowly descended into the Liu clan's mansion. He sneered and said, "If it weren't for your greed for the dragon bloodline in this king's body, how could your Liu clan end up like this? How could Mountain Blocking City be breached by the beast tide? Do you know how many lives have been lost today because of your greed?" At this point, Lin Yuan paused and changed the topic. His tone was more mocking than cold. "This king would like to know how you managed to put on such a victim's attitude. It really makes this king want to vomit." Looking at the black snake that descended into her courtyard, the woman's mind went blank for a moment. Although Lin Yuan's current appearance was completely different from before, and even his pupils had turned into a different color, the aura on his body did not change much. In addition, the conversation between this black snake and her ancestor almost reminded the woman of the time when she was saved by a black snake in the demonic beast's forest and kept her chastity. Was this black snake that had a threatening aura and could even speak human language really the little black snake that saved her? But how was this possible? It had not even been a year. At most, only half a year had passed. How did this black snake turn from a little demonic beast that had just awakened its spirit into a wisdom illumination realm great demon that could kill her with just a thought? Moreover, this black snake called itself this king. Didn't that mean that this black snake was one of the Hengduan mountain range's beast kings? If it wasn't because all of this really happened in front of her eyes, even a storyteller might not be able to make up such a mysterious story. "Humph, I'm a human and you're a demonic beast. It's natural for humans to devour demonic beasts for cultivation." Fang Tian's eyes were blood-red. He waved his sleeves and roared, "What did I do wrong? You're the one who's wrong. You're obviously just a demonic beast, a livestock raised by us humans. It's your honor that your ancestor needs your bloodline. How dare you resist?" "Tsk." Lin Yuan suddenly sneered, but there was no smile on his face. However, there was no trace of a smile in his eyes. Other than anger in his heart, there was only sorrow. What kind of theory was this? If it wasn't for the Liu clan's repeated provocations, Lin Yuan wouldn't have held a grudge against Mountain Blocking City, and today's war mission wouldn't have been triggered. Although most of the people in this city were demon slayers who hunted demonic beasts for a living, there were still the old, the weak, women, and children, right? So many innocent lives were lost because of one person's greed. Even at this time, this guy still didn't have the slightest sense of repentance. Instead, he boasted shamelessly that demonic beasts were born to be devoured by humans, as if other species didn't have the right to live in this world other than humans. What a joke! However, other than this bit of anger, all that was left in Lin Yuan's heart was sorrow. Because an existence like the Liu clan's ancestor was not a special case. People like the purple-eyed youth, who were willing to let go of their human identity and sincerely cooperate with demonic beasts, were the real freaks in today's human society. The Liu clan's ancestor who believed that demonic beasts were born to be devoured by humans was the mainstream thinking in today's human society. Although the Demon Emperor Association could easily gather so many people, none of them, including Su Nan, were loyal to Lin Yuan. Some of them wanted to obtain the spiritual items needed for cultivation from Lin Yuan, while some of them wanted the great future that Lin Yuan had tricked out of them. Everyone was working for benefit. If someone could offer better benefits, the Demon Emperor Association might collapse in an instant. How interesting! You want to eat this king, so this king should be given to you? This king is standing here today. If you have the ability, come and try it. Lin Yuan sneered with a trace of coldness in his eyes. There were still hundreds of wisdom demonic beasts lying in ambush outside the Liu clan's mansion. As long as Lin Yuan hissed, these demonic beasts would immediately break in and slaughter everyone in the Liu clan. "Humph!" Fang Tian snorted and ignored Lin Yuan. Instead, he reached out and touched the head of the girl beside him. A bitter smile appeared on his face as he said, "Girl, You are the most outstanding junior among the younger generation of the Lu clan's direct descendants. If you weren't a girl, the next patriarch of the Lu clan would definitely be you. A small mountain-blocking city wouldn't be able to trap you. Speaking until here, Fong Tian waved his hand and said, "Let's go. With this black snake here, the ancestor won't be able to leave. I hope you can make the Lu clan better in the future." Chapter 184. This king has said that none of you can leave today. Lin Yuan maintained his imposing manner. His voice was as cold as ice and as powerful as steel. Old ancestor, this is bad." A blood-stained Lu family cultivator barged into the hall from the backyard and shouted, "Underground!" A lot of demon beasts appeared underground, and we were caught unprepared. We didn't even have time to form a battle formation before we were scattered by the demon beast. Some of us were killed, and some of us panicked and didn't know where to go, and rushed into the secret passage where the traps were set. When the blood-stained cultivator's voice fell, a look of shock appeared on his face. Almost instantly, his entire person turned into an ice sculpture. Lin Yuan opened his bloody mouth and said coldly, "Old thing, playing the underground tunnel under the eyes of the demonic beasts? Then you have really chosen a dead end. You must know that the demonic beasts living underground have almost no vision, but their hearing and perception are far beyond us who live on the surface. The faster those Lu family disciples in the underground tunnel run, the faster they die. Even if they find a place to hide, they will be found and eaten one by one." Ha 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 ha. Lin Yuan's maniacal laughter echoed in Fong Tian's ears. "I'll kill you." Fong Tian's eyes were bloodshot. He flipped his hands, and two short knives slid out from his sleeve. As a puppeteer who was good at hiding behind the scenes, Fong Tian was not good at fighting head-on. However, when he led the Iron Hand Gang into the Stoneclaw Forest for the beheading operation, he had already lost his life sealing card. That kind of treasure was obviously not something that could be bought with money, so he could not find a replacement in a short time. Buzz buzz buzz. Just as Fong Tian drew his knives, a buzzing sound suddenly sounded in the air. Fong Tian was slightly stunned. He focused his eyes and saw metal cards being spat out from the black snake's mouth. There were a total of 64 life sealing cards in a set. They formed a battle knife made of metal cards and slashed towards him. How is this possible? Seeing the life sealing token slashing towards him, Fong Tian's first reaction was not to dodge but to be puzzled. The life-sealing card was different from other weapons. Without the control of Zhenqi, the life-sealing card was really just a card. Even as the previous owner of the life-sealing card, he didn't dare to say that he could control the life-sealing card at will. He could only construct the life-sealing card according to a few familiar patterns to attack the enemy. But how could a demonic beast control the life-sealing card so easily? Although demonic energy and true qi were similar, they were both energy cultivated by living beings, so it was naturally not a problem for them to activate the life-sealing tablet. However, if one wanted to use the 64 life-sealing cards as though they were part of his body, he would need to have an incomparably meticulous control over his own strength. It was like building blocks. The slightest deviation would result in destruction. Furthermore, demonic beasts were proficient in the use of their own physical strength as well as the strength of their innate skills. For a cultivator like humans who started from nothing, they should be more proficient in controlling their own strength than demonic beasts. Nothing is impossible. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes didn't have the slightest ripple. The meticulous control of demonic energy wasn't difficult. It was just that other demonic beasts were too lazy to study it. However, Lin Yuan's skills all came from the system. Every time he released a skill, it would achieve the effect described in the text. This was the meticulous control. After getting used to this kind of output method, Lin Yuan's control of his own strength had naturally reached the level of meticulous control. Now, even if Lin Yuan didn't use the system panel to activate skills, he could easily release skills like Thorny Whip and Death Coil that relied on his physical strength. Black Snake, I don't care how amazing you are, but you let demonic beasts slaughter my Lu clan's disciples. Today I will fight you to the death. I will never let you, this kind of scourge, continue to grow. Fong Tian's words were very domineering, but his figure was constantly escaping under the pursuit of the life-sealing cards. Not to mention attacking Lin Yuan. He couldn't even find a chance to breathe. Xiao, Lin Yuan's mind moved, and the 64 life-sealing cards were released from the blade. The metal cards were released one by one, but their speed suddenly increased by a few points. Fong Tian secretly complained in his heart. When the life-sealing cards were combined together, their power was naturally multiplied. However, when they were separated, they also had a strong lethality under the blessing of strength. Lin Yuan could ignore them before because he was a demonic beast and had a strong physique. However, Fong Tian's cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the airborne realm at the moment. When he was escaping from the Stonetalan jungle, he even took half of the three-eyed ape's fist intent. The assassin's body still had old injuries that had not healed. It was simply impossible for him to take on the life-sealing cards head-on. Well, your words are incomparably domineering, but you run faster than anyone. A cold light flashed in Lin Yuan's eyes. His figure flickered and appeared beside the woman. He said with a cold gaze, "Isn't this the future hope of your Lu clan? Old thing, if you continue to run, this king will destroy your Lu clan's future hope with just a thought." Despicable! Fong Tian roared, but his speed couldn't help but slow down. He had long heard that this black snake was cunning and never stuck to one pattern. However, he never thought that this black snake would actually use a weak woman who hadn't even reached the airborne realm to threaten him. Could it be that this black snake didn't care about the face of the Beast King? Despicable? Only the winner has the right to speak. There are so many cases in history where the winner becomes the king and the loser becomes the bandit. I thought that a human like you would be more thorough than a demonic beast like me. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with killing intent. The snake head rested on the woman's shoulder and said slowly, "Speaking of which, your Lu clan has offended a lot of demonic beasts for your own benefits over the years. If this king wasn't here, they would have already rushed in like a swarm of bees. This king is now fighting you one-on-one, yet you say that this king is despicable? For someone as strong as Fong Tian, who was one step away from reaching the heaven realm, even if he changed his physical body, the strength of his soul was still the same as before. Naturally, it was impossible for him to not sense the group of demonic beasts outside the Lu clan's mansion. Ding ding ding, the dagger in Fong Tian's hand kept spinning, flicking the life-sealing cards away. His gaze was cold as he lowered his voice and said, "What do you want? My Lu clan has already fallen to such a state, and you still want to force me? Must I die in your hands before you're willing to stop?" "Hee, you want to die?" "No, I don't want you to die." Lin Yuan's snake body coiled around the woman's body. Its movements were slow and gentle as it said coldly, "I want you to live. Live to see how your Lu clan members die one by one in the hands of the demonic beast." As soon as its voice fell, Lin Yuan's snake body suddenly shrunk. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a level 7 mortal evolution state human. Gained 0 attribute points. The system broadcast sounded in his mind. There was no reward, but Lin Yuan felt comfortable in his heart for no reason. Chapter 185. Lin Yuan couldn't describe this mysterious feeling with words. Although killing this woman did not bring him any benefits, at the moment of the other party's death, Lin Yuan suddenly felt that his whole body had relaxed a lot. If it was a fantasy, it should be that his thoughts were clear. If he didn't save this woman out of kindness, the Lu family wouldn't know of his existence. Many of the subsequent troubles could be avoided, and he wouldn't be forced to this step. Arg! I'll kill you! Fong Tian let out a shrill scream. He was like a demon that crawled out from hell. His hair was disheveled, and his eyes were blood-red. He didn't seem to have a trace of life. He was more like a walking corpse. Not all creatures were like Lin Yuan, a cheater. Even those with noble bloodlines like the dragon race and Kirin, other than having a higher starting point than other creatures, still had to cultivate bitterly bit by bit. This was the case for monsters, and it was the same for humans. The woman reached level 7 of the mortal evolution state before the age of 20. In the future, she had hopes of reaching the pinnacle of the airborne state before the age of 50. From then on, she would have a lifespan of 500 years. She might even have hopes of going one step further and reach the legendary Heaven Star border state, where one's body could fight monsters head-on. At that time, although the Liu family would still be the Liu family, their status would be completely different from before. The black snake killed the woman in front of him, which was equivalent to cutting off the foundation of the Liu family in front of him. As Fong Tian's heart was like dead ashes, a burnt smell suddenly filled the air. This scene made Lin Yuan have a sense of déjà vu, as if he had seen it somewhere before. Die! 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 All of you must die! Fong Tian's eyes widened as he stared fiercely at Lin Yuan in front of him. His black waist-length hair suddenly flew up and was dyed red bit by bit. His limbs and bones were constantly overflowing with waves of black and red aura. In the blink of an eye, his entire body grew by more than 4 meters. Although this body size was still like an ant compared to the true body of a wisdom state monster, with human genes, it was obviously impossible for someone to grow to a height of 4 to 5 meters naturally. If it wasn't some secret technique, then it could only mean that the current Fong Tian had already surpassed the human category. Boundless killing intent and fury, this is. Lin Yuan's eyes narrowed slightly as he sized up Fong Tian. A hint of horror flashed through his heterochromatic eyes. Host, please kill this purgatory demon as soon as possible. Reward: 10 attribute points for killing. The system broadcast immediately sounded after Fong Tian completed his transformation. At the same time, Fong Tian's rising momentum also made Lin Yuan's heart alarmed. Previously, Fong Tian's aura was dispirited, and he looked like he could die at any time. At most, he was around the 2nd level of the airborne realm. However, at this moment, Fong Tian no longer felt dispirited. His cultivation level was also rising at an insane rate, which only came to a halt when he reached level 9 of the airborne realm. So it's not just demonic beasts. When humans are in extreme despair and sorrow, they can also degenerate into purgatory demon beasts. What exactly is this purgatory? Lin Yuan quietly took a few steps back, and a hint of fear flashed through his eyes. This kind of invisible corruption that affected all kinds of creatures, turning these creatures into monsters that only knew how to kill. Moreover, it seemed that the system was hostile to them. After all, apart from purgatory demon beasts, even if Lin Yuan were to fight enemies at a lower level, it was just a matter of how many attribute points he would get. However, in the face of purgatory demon beasts, the system changed its previous scam and instead generously gave out attribute points as a reward. Retreat. At the moment when the alarm in his heart rang, Lin Yuan had already rushed outside quickly. It was just a reward of 10 attribute points. Before, in order to kill Hua Sanyang and Lai Shan, he had already missed out on many attribute points. There was no need to fight a purgatory demon beast, whose weakness he did not know for the time being, for such a small reward. Moreover, although the 3-day journey had let the cooldown of the blood boil skill finish, at this moment, Lin Yuan did not have the full set of status buffs of the white deer. The gap between him and level 9 of the airborne realm was not small. Roar! The demonized Fong Tian let out a wild roar that was not inferior to that of a demon beast. The moment Lin Yuan escaped, his figure turned into an afterimage and chased after him. A pair of big hands like iron pliers fiercely grabbed Lin Yuan's snake body and crazily smashed it on the ground like a black whip. Cough! Lin Yuan opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of scarlet blood. He felt that his muscles and bones had been broken. Level 9 of the airborne realm coupled with the enhancement of a purgatory demon beast. This demonized Fong Tian was more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. Scram! A violent roar sounded. King Kong, who had revealed his true form, looked like an angry King Kong as he directly charged towards the demonized Fong Tian. The demonized Fong Tian's reaction was not slow at all. He just coldly glanced at King Kong, who was charging over, then he waved Lin Yuan in his hand vigorously. At this moment, Lin Yuan directly turned into a black afterimage and fiercely hit King Kong's face. Even if it was as strong as King Kong, it was still hit by the demonized Fong Tian and leaned back. Its huge eyes also revealed a very human-like look of confusion. Obviously, it did not expect that the power of this guy who was only 5 meters tall could actually be so strong. Death entanglement. Lin Yuan, whose head collided with King Kong, was stunned for a moment before he woke up. He also instantly became ruthless. His snake body suddenly pulled out from the opponent's palm, but he did not escape immediately. After all, the situation where he was caught and smashed in the opponent's hand just now already showed that he was no match for the demonized Fong Tian in terms of speed. Either fight to the death, or simply wait for death. The tough black snake body wrapped around the demonized Fong Tian's arm and crazily twisted, but the imagined sound of bones bursting did not come for a long time. It was as if his death entanglement did not have any effect on the demonized Fong Tian. However, the demonized Fong Tian obviously did not have the intention to let Lin Yuan attack. After the death entanglement, the demonized Fong Tian keenly grasped the opportunity. His body took a step forward, and his whole body directly fell to the ground. Lin Yuan, who was wrapped around his arm, naturally did not escape and also fell heavily to the ground. The huge impact and pain came like a tide. Lin Yuan's body was completely out of control. The snake body naturally relaxed, allowing the demonized Fong Tian to pull his arm out. Die! The demonized Fong Tian opened his mouth again. The ruthlessness in his eyes became heavier and heavier. He ruthlessly smashed a fist towards the immobile Lin Yuan's head. Lin Yuan did not doubt that if the opponent's fist hit him, he would probably die on the spot. Chapter 186. Boom. A dull sound rang out. The pain he imagined didn't come. Lin Yuan struggled to get up, but he saw King Kong appear beside him, carrying half a tree trunk on his shoulder. Previously, when Lin Yuan was fighting with Fong Tian, King Kong, as a combative beast king, naturally didn't run away. It pulled out a large tree nearby and used it as a weapon. After fiercely swinging it, it smashed Fong Tian, who was planning to kill Lin Yuan with a punch. The small giant was sent flying on the spot. The tree in his hand was also shattered, leaving only half of it in King Kong's hand. Die! After landing, Fong Tian, who stirred up a cloud of dust, bounced up again. He took large strides towards this side, and along the way, he tore apart a few beasts that were blocking his way. Amidst the bloody rain and dust, Fong Tian was like a terrifying war god that came out from hell. What the hell is this thing? King Kong stomped his feet and cursed. The force of the tree trunk just now wasn't something that anyone could withstand. Even if King Kong was hit by it, it probably wouldn't feel good. However, Fong Tian was only sent flying. He didn't even have a moment of buffer before he immediately stood up. Something similar to a purgatory beast. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes narrowed slightly. It wasn't difficult to deal with a purgatory beast, but it depended on the situation. A purgatory beast like Fong Tian who didn't know its weakness was a nightmare at this moment. What's more terrifying was that Fong Tian's strength was far stronger than him, so he couldn't test it one by one like how he tested the strange ape's weakness. Where is Bai Lu? Lin Yuan raised his head and asked coldly. To deal with the demonized Fang Tian, the only way now was to let Bai Lu replicate the buff that he gave him 3 days ago. Then, with the help of the blood boil technique, he could forcefully raise his attributes to a level beyond wisdom state level 10. Only then could he fight Fang Tian. Otherwise, even if he teamed up with King Kong, it would just be delivering food to Fang Tian. Bai Lu? Bai Lu is commanding the beasts at the city lord's mansion. Jin Gang looked at Fang Tian, who was getting closer and closer. A hint of impatience flashed in his eyes as he roared, "How the hell did you provoke this kind of thing? I reckon that even if the two of us join forces, we won't be a match for him. Even with the white deer and the cold pool crane, we still won't be able to beat him. Why don't we run?" "Hee hee." Lin Yuan sneered and said helplessly, "Why don't you run and show me? Do you think I was caught and beaten by him because I wanted to fight him head-on? This guy's speed is definitely far beyond the two of us. If we run now, we'll only be killed by him one by one. I shouldn't have come to save you." King Kong rolled his eyes and said snappily, "Retreat while fighting. Even though the two of us aren't a match for him, it shouldn't be a problem to delay him for a while. Let's go to the city lord's mansion to find Bai Lu. As long as Bai Lu can buff me with the state he gave me before, I'll have the confidence to deal with this guy." Lin Yuan took a deep breath. The water element in the air slowly adhered to Fang Tian's body. Then, the invisible ice was instantly activated and instantly froze Fang Tian into an ice sculpture. However, looking at the constantly trembling ice sculpture, Lin Yuan was sure that he didn't have the chance to finish him off because that guy could break out of the ice at any time. "Follow me." King Kong returned to the size of an ordinary ape. He looked around and planned the route. To be able to manage a large territory, King Kong wasn't a brainless brute. Even though the irascibility in his blood made him very aggressive, when King Kong calmed down, it wasn't a problem for him to call himself a wise man. "Gotcha!" Fang Tian broke out of the ice. The ruthlessness in his eyes was even more intense. His figure rushed out. His speed was more than 10 times faster than before. However, King Kong was already prepared. With a wave of his hand, he threw out pieces of gravel and trees. Even though Fang Tian wasn't afraid of being attacked by King Kong, in this situation, once King Kong's throwing objects hit his body, he would be sent flying. If he didn't dodge, the gap between the two of them would become bigger and bigger. However, if Fang Tian wanted to dodge or defend, he would have to slow down and move forward carefully. There's a chance. Seeing that King Kong's plan worked, Lin Yuan was also shocked. He followed King Kong and fled. At the same time, he used his snake tail to smash the surrounding buildings and walls. While providing King Kong with throwing objects, he would occasionally roll up a stone and throw it at Fang Tian. "All of you must die." Fang Tian opened his mouth and roared again. The moment his voice fell, a black-red flame suddenly rose from Fang Tian's right hand. Immediately, a large halberd with a black pole and a red blade appeared in his hand. The halberd was almost 6 meters long, but in Fang Tian's hand, it was light as if it was weightless. He waved it again and again, almost leaving afterimages. The stones thrown by Lin Yuan and King Kong were almost all shredded by the large halberd. Moreover, the distance between the two of them was still getting closer. "Isn't this a stinky rascal?" King Kong stomped his foot and cursed again. He no longer had any thoughts of using throwing objects to hinder Fang Tian. Instead, he focused on rushing forward. He no longer had the imposing manner of charging at Fang Tian without thinking. "Bah, coward!" Lin Yuan spat a mouthful of saliva in disdain. He also increased his speed and didn't dare to dawdle anymore. Fortunately, everyone's speed wasn't slow. Although the scale of Mountain Blocking City wasn't small, the distance between the Lu family's mansion and the city lord's mansion wasn't too far. In just a short while, Lin Yuan could already see the beast tide besieging the city lord's mansion. King Kong used all 4 of his limbs to run frantically while roaring, "Hey, Black Snake, have you ever thought about what would happen if the white deer can't buff you? After all, when we were attacking the city, that guy gave hundreds of thousands of beasts a wave of buff. No matter how you think about it, the consumption won't be small, right?" "Yes, I have thought about it," Lin Yuan replied very honestly. Without changing his expression, he said, "That guy is a purgatory creature. He has been chasing after the 2 of us along the way. It's not because of hatred, but because the beasts and humans wandering nearby are not nutritious to him. Eating the 2 of us is beneficial to his evolution. Therefore, if the white deer can't buff me, I don't have the confidence to deal with this guy. At that time, we just have to continue running. No matter how I think about it, whether it's the powerful cold pool crane or the noble white deer, they are more attractive to him than us. Therefore, it depends on who is unlucky. Anyway, I'm the weakest, so the unlucky one will definitely not be me." Chapter 187. When Lin Yuan's voice fell, the air froze a little. King Kong was silent for a moment, then he suddenly lowered his voice and said, "You're too King realistic." Regardless of whether it was the accountability of the 7 dynasties or the purgatory creature that was chasing after them, it did not seem to be a problem for the Black Snake. It was as if this fellow always had 2 plans before doing anything. One was to take a gamble, and the other was to sacrifice his fellow Taoist but not himself. King Kong, who had a deep understanding of the Black Snake's cunning, was speechless for a while. He sincerely hoped that this would be the last time he cooperated with the Black Snake. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know when he would be betrayed by the Black Snake. Huh! Bai Lu, who was acting as the military governor, heard the footsteps behind him and turned his head smartly. He saw Lin Yuan and King Kong rushing over and couldn't help but smile and say, "Aren't you too desperate? We just finished dealing with the Lu family, and you're here. What the **CK is that thing?" Although Fong Tian, who was more than 5 meters tall, was nothing in front of the monster's true body, but in this case, it was obviously not an insignificant thing. Before Bai Lu finished his words, he saw the little giant who was waving the black-red halberd and crushing everything along the way. His face suddenly became interesting. These 2 things. Could it be that they were being hunted down? Bai Lu Beast King, quickly, give me another set of buff skills that you gave me before. Otherwise, none of us can defeat the guy behind us. Lin Yuan shouted loudly as he ran. Bai Lu's face changed slightly. Although he didn't fight with Fong Tian at this moment, he still felt Fong Tian's destructive aura. After a moment of silence, Bai Lu roared with a distorted face, "Are you **King kidding me? Do you think that after I blessed so many monsters, I still have the spare energy to give you another buff? Then you're on your own." What responded to Bai Lu was Lin Yuan's very indifferent and King Kong's ridicule. The 3 Beast Kings passed by each other at this moment, but Lin Yuan and King Kong didn't have the slightest intention to stop at this moment. Instead, they continued to run forward. "You too." Holy shit. As soon as Bai Lu opened his mouth, he saw an intelligence state level 6 beastkin that tried to stop Fong Tian being torn apart. He immediately cursed. Without even thinking for a moment, he followed behind Lin Yuan and Jin Gang. He didn't even look at the city lord's mansion that was in full swing. He tore apart a level 6 wisdom insight demonic beast in one move. How was he supposed to fight? Outside the city lord's residence. Hondan Crane, who was fighting on the front line, glanced back in confusion and saw White Deer, King Kong, and Black Snake moving further and further away. He couldn't help but make a confused sound. It was disturbed by the rumbling noises behind it and the shrieks of the demonic beast. When it turned around, it was still a little impatient. After all, the mountain-blocking city had been completely destroyed. Even if there were still humans left, they were currently hiding in some slightly safer buildings, praying that they would not be discovered by the demonic beast. However, every moment, there would be humans being dragged out from their hiding places and eaten by the demonic beast. Even if there were still humans who could fight, they were either guarding some large-scale hiding places or organizing people to break out of the encirclement. It was impossible for there to be people who didn't care about their lives and come to the city lord's mansion to challenge the main force of the monster horde. That is, Hondan Crane was only confused for a moment. Then, it felt everything in front of it turning into a black-red color. Immediately, it was thrown high up in the air. At this moment, it even felt that its body was lighter than when it spread its wings to fly. In the process of its rotation, it already saw itself falling limp to the ground after losing its head, and then its body was wrapped in a black-red flame. In one round, Hondan Crane King dead. Seeing this scene, Bai Lu, King Kong, and Lin Yuan all shuddered at the same time. As time passed, the degree of Sky Demon Fong Tian's transformation became more and more serious. His strength also became stronger and stronger. If he had this kind of strength at the beginning, whether it was Lin Yuan or King Kong, they would have already been devoured by the purgatory fire and turned into ashes. "No, why are you all following me?" Lin Yuan shouted angrily. With the three of them running together, to the demonized Fong Tian, wasn't it like an extremely large light bulb? If Fong Tian chased after them later, none of them would be able to escape. King Kong rolled his eyes and said angrily, "What nonsense are you talking about? This road is the main road back to the Hengduan mountain range. If we don't run in this direction, where should we run to? Don't tell me we're still running towards the human city?" "Hey!" Bai Lu suddenly screamed and said in a low voice, "Don't quarrel, don't quarrel. Did you guys notice? That guy doesn't seem to have the intention to chase after us. He's going to the city lord's mansion." King Kong and Lin Yuan, who were glaring at each other, turned their heads at the same time. They saw the demonized Fong Tian carrying the halberd and killing a bloody path in the beast tide. He was running towards the city lord's mansion. They both breathed a sigh of relief. Just like the scarlet eye mandarin that transformed into the purgatory bird, the purgatory beasts didn't have any wisdom and wouldn't consider their feelings before they fell. The only thing that could attract them was something that could make them stronger. Obviously, the three beast kings added together weren't as important as the thing in the city lord's mansion to Fong Tian. At this moment, the beast tide seemed to be scared out of their wits by Fong Tian. They scattered like birds and beasts. There were even a few guys who panicked and ran towards the direction of other human cities. However, there were more beasts that followed closely behind the three of them and rushed towards the Hengduan mountain range. The three beast kings didn't deliberately stop those guys who ran away. After all, the beasts in the Hengduan mountain range weren't united. As long as it wasn't a large-scale beast tide and only a few beasts escaped from the Hengduan mountain range, the demon slayers in the nearby cities would be happy to see it. The 7 dynasties wouldn't hold them accountable for it. Besides, what did the destruction of Zhongshan City have to do with the beast? Who could prove that Zhongshan City was destroyed in the hands of the beast? It was estimated that when the human armies in the nearby cities rushed over to provide support, they would only see the powerful Fong Tian. Under the hands of this purgatory demon, not even a corpse would be left in Zhongshan City. The entire city would be turned into a blazing purgatory on earth. The feeling of having someone to take the blame for the crime after the deed was done seemed pretty good. It would be even better if Fong Tian didn't chase after the three of them. Speaking of which, what about the territories of those beast kings that died in the battle? Should we split them? As they ran, the danger gradually disappeared. Bai Lu asked faintly, "What's the matter?" Chapter 188. When Bai Lu's voice fell, both Lin Yuan and Jin Gang went silent. There were more than 20 beast kings that came out of the Hengduan mountain range, including the ones that joined later, but there were only 3 of them on the way back. Even the cold pool crane, who had the highest cultivation, fell in the hands of Fong Tian, and the loss of beasts of various realms was even more uncountable. It could even be said that there were no more beasts with intelligence in many territories. Naturally, it was impossible for a new beast king to appear. What does it have to do with me? Lin Yuan raised his eyelids and replied absent-mindedly. With the Stoneclaw Forest and Scarlet Flame Swamp added together, his territory was already big enough. Even if the Scarlet Flame Swamp was burning with purgatory fire, and there weren't many places for beasts to live, it was impossible for the purgatory fire to burn for 100 years. Who knew what kind of terrifying things would be born from the purgatory fire after 100 years? The Beast King Court would send high-level beasts to deal with the purgatory fire in the Scarlet Flame Swamp sooner or later, and it wouldn't be long. Moreover, although most of the Beast King's territories were close to Lin Yuan, they weren't bordering. The only bordering territory was the Cold Pool Crane's territory. It was just that the beasts in the Cold Pool Crane's territory were all in intelligence. If they didn't all die in the war, they would naturally choose a new Beast King. If they all died in the war, it would just be an empty space. At this moment, the Stoneclaw Forest hadn't reached saturation. If they occupied an empty space, their territory would be a lot bigger, but the beasts under them would be more scattered. If any special situation happened, Lin Yuan would definitely have a hard time defending his territory. Things seemed to have gone out of hand. Jean Gang suddenly frowned and said in a deep voice, "Our vitality is greatly damaged now. With so many territories, we definitely can't take it all. At that time, the nearby Beast Kings will definitely want to come and get a share of the soup. Even those guys in the depths of the Hengduan mountain range won't let go of such a big piece of fat meat." As his voice fell, Lin Yuan looked at Jean Gang in a higher light. While Bai Lu was still thinking about how to divide the territory, King Kong already knew that the nearby Beast Kings would take the opportunity to invade. It was impossible to hide such a big matter from the higher-ups. After all, the territory of more than 20 Beast Kings was not a small territory. With so many demonic beasts dying in battle, the ecological chain of the entire Hengduan mountain range would be affected. It might even give the Xinwu dynasty an opportunity to invade the Hengduan mountain range. At that time, they might even have to give up a large part of the demonic beast forest. Although this unforeseen event would not affect Lin Yuan, after all, even if the nearby Beast Kings had nothing better to do, they would definitely not fight for a territory that was constantly being attacked by the Inferno Beast. Even if they had many beasts under their command, they would not waste them in such a place. However, the replacement of the nearby Beast Kings would definitely give the Green Marsh clan an opportunity. At that time, the Green Marsh clan would arrange for some demonic beasts with tyrannical strength like the Bloodclaw to become the Beast Kings in the vicinity. When the time came, they would join forces to deal with Lin Yuan. Let's keep this matter a secret for now and properly discuss how to deal with it. Lin Yuan slightly narrowed his eyes and coldly said, "If it really doesn't work, I will release all the 4 great clans of the Stoneclaw Forest. In any case, the Old Wolf, Zhuing, and men all have the qualifications to become Beast Kings. At that time, they will still have to consider our relationship and will not target us together with the invading Beast Kings." "And this is a good idea." Bai Lu and King Kong both nodded. They did not feel that Lin Yuan was taking the opportunity to annex the surrounding territories to strengthen himself. After all, the veteran Beast Kings knew that the Stoneclaw Forest's 4 great clans had been restraining each other for a long time. Lin Yuan, this black snake, was only a Beast King that came out of nowhere. Other than the shattered Stone clan under Mendu, the other 3 great clans did not have the slightest loyalty to him. The demonic beasts were planning to divide the territory. On the other hand, the humans were not so optimistic. Zhanshan City was the city closest to the Hengduan mountain range. It was also the first city to be attacked by the demonic beast tide. There were 7 other cities nearby, all of which were border cities where demon slayers ran rampant. 4 hours ago, they saw a wave of smoke rising from Jianshan City. Only when they encountered an enemy that they could not deal with would these border cities light up the smoke signal and summon the nearby army to assist them. After all, the mobilization of these armies required a large sum of money. Moreover, how could they help for free? At first, although the city lords of the nearby cities were puzzled as to why Jianshan City would light up the smoke signal since it was not the season for demonic beast tides, they followed the old rules of the Xunwu dynasty and decisively began to assemble their armies to reinforce Jianshan City. However, only 4 hours had passed and the smoke signal in the direction of Jianshan City had been extinguished. Once the smoke signal was lit, it would not be extinguished so easily. Otherwise, if the imperial court held it accountable, even the city lord would have his head cut off. Under such circumstances, the smoke signal would burn for 2 days and 2 nights. If it was extinguished prematurely, it meant that the city lord's mansion that lit the smoke signal had been captured by the enemy, or even razed to the ground. But how was this possible? It had only been 4 hours. Could it be that the demonic beast imperial court had turned out in full force? Otherwise, how could they destroy the defense of a city that had tens of thousands of demon slayers and a garrison army? Even the city lord's mansion that was built as the inner city was razed to the ground. However, the beast lord of the demonic beast imperial court had personally come out to fight. The smoke signal in the direction of Jianshan City should be blood red and not ordinary black smoke. It could not be that an ordinary demonic beast tide had directly destroyed Jianshan City, right? Could it be that the garrison army of Jianshan City was made of paper? A middle-aged man with a mustache stood on the city wall with a solemn expression and a doubtful look in his eyes. "City Lord, we have finished assembling. We can set off at any time." The legion commander in full armor strode to the side of the middle-aged man. His right hand slammed on the armor in front of his chest, producing a dull sound of metal colliding. The city lord pondered for a moment, then lowered his voice and said, "The situation in Jianshan City is a little strange. Bring your men and set up camp near Jianshan City. Don't rashly inquire about the situation in Jianshan City. Wait for the armies of the nearby cities to arrive before taking a look at the situation. After you set off, I will personally make a trip to White Horse City and inform the county governor of the situation in Jianshan City. If things really go south, retreat first. Remember, even if the sky falls, there are still people who are tall enough to hold it up. Don't fill it with the lives of our brothers." Of course, supporting the Allies was something that must be done. However, from the looks of the situation, Jianshan City was probably finished. As a border city, he needed to prioritize the safety of his own city and not crazily take revenge for Jianshan City. "Yes, I understand." The Legion commander nodded and replied again. Chapter 189. 5 days later. Demonic Beast Forest, Lin Yuan's lair. Lin Yuan looked at the purple-eyed youth standing in front of him and said with a faint smile, "The Hengduan mountain range is now very hostile to humans. It's fine that you're here, but you better be careful on the road. If other demonic beasts see you, I guarantee that you won't be able to bear the consequences." At this moment, the alliance formed by the destroyed mountain-blocking cities Demon Subduing Master Association allowed the Demon Emperor Association to seize the opportunity to slaughter all the demonic beasts' territories nearby. Now, it would be polite to say that the demonic beasts near the Stoneclaw Forest were hostile to humans. It would be better to say that once the demonic beasts here discover humans, they would want to skin them alive. You still have the face to say that? Do you know how big of a mess you've left for me? The purple-eyed youth widened his eyes in disbelief. Obviously, he didn't expect this black snake to complain first. Although he already knew that Black Snake was going to organize the demonic beasts to attack humans, he never thought that the demonic beasts would directly destroy the entire mountain-blocking city and kill millions of people in one night. Although it was just a cold post-war statistic, every single one of these millions of people were people that others would never be able to see even if they thought about it day and night. Every human who came to the ruins of mountain-blocking city, even if they were experienced soldiers, couldn't help but vomit. After all, that kind of scene was too unbearable for humans to bear. Broken walls, dismembered corpses, severed limbs, blazing purgatory fire, and ashes left behind after the purgatory fire devoured flesh and phase. At first glance, the ruins of mountain-blocking city looked like a projection from a corner of purgatory. Of course, this wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that although the mountain-blocking city first released the signal that pointed to the demonic beasts flesh and blood were very nutritious. Therefore, the entire scene was cleaned up by Fong Tian. The humans who rushed over didn't even find a single demonic beast corpse. Instead, they were caught off guard by Fong Tian, who had been starving for several days. After paying the price of many lives, that demon actually managed to break out of the encirclement. It was said that the Shenwu dynasty had already dispatched a few Heaven Realm experts to search for Fong Tian's whereabouts. After all, such a powerful purgatory creature was a ticking time bomb for the entire Shenwu dynasty. This was not the worst. The worst thing was that he would have to undertake the reconstruction of mountain-blocking city. In principle, it seemed to be similar to his expectations. However, after the purgatory demon beasts got involved, it could be said to be a different matter. Because he was not a refiner or an alchemist, he did not have the means to extract the purgatory flame. Therefore, he had no way to deal with the purgatory flame in the ruins of mountain-blocking city. If he could not deal with it in a short time, he would have to choose another location to rebuild mountain-blocking city. However, the choice of several areas was not to his liking. After all, those locations were all out of the sphere of influence of the Black Serpent. If the demon beasts came to attack, he was afraid that there would not even be a messenger. He still had another errand to do, and he still didn't know how to bring it up to Black Snake. "Do you have something to tell me? Why do you look like you have a lot on your mind?" Lin Yuan raised his eyelids and soaked his body in the lake water, feeling the comfortable feeling of the lake water washing his body. "There's something I might need to trouble you with." After all, the investigation result from the Shenwu dynasty is that mountain-blocking city was destroyed in the hands of Fong Tian, who had somehow degenerated into a purgatory creature. Therefore, you don't have to worry about the 7 great empires finding trouble with you through the monstrous Beast King court. However, they hope that you can take the initiative to admit to the destruction of mountain-blocking city. After all, although the existence of purgatory creatures isn't a secret, the ones that have appeared in the eyes of the world in the past were only some purgatory demon beasts. As far as we know, this is the first time a human like Fong Tian has degenerated into a purgatory creature. Although the higher-ups haven't made a clear statement, we, the middle and lower members, have already guessed that the higher-ups definitely don't want the news of a human degenerating into a purgatory creature to spread. You have to know that the Demonic Emperor Association you've organized is already considered vile in human society, but it hasn't reached the point where the 7 great empires would kill it at all costs. However, there are some organizations that are similarly hidden in the dark, and their actions are far worse than the Demonic Emperor Association. Once such an existence appears, the 7 great empires will simultaneously send experts to eliminate them. Even so, the number of these disgusting fellows still doesn't decrease. After all, when one can obtain unparalleled power through hard work and reaping without sowing, there will always be some idiots who think that they are different from others and can withstand the erosion of the purgatory will. Therefore, these fellows will even think of ways to degenerate into a purgatory creature. The purple-eyed young man had a troubled look on his face. Although everyone knew that the destruction of Zhanshan City was inseparable from the demon beasts, with Fang Tian as the scapegoat, he had completely wiped out all the evidence that pointed to the Hengduan Mountains. Not to mention any survivors, not even a single demon beast corpse was left behind. All of them were devoured by the purgatory flames and turned into his own nourishment. After all, the demonized Fang Tian was powerful. In fact, when humans discovered this fellow, he had already stepped into the mysterious Heaven Star border realm under the nourishment of the corpses of both humans and demon beasts in Zhanshan City. The troops sent by the nearby cities to encircle and annihilate Fang Tian were instead defeated by him. However, with just a Heaven Star border purgatory creature, how could he destroy the entire Zhanshan City within 4 hours? Putting aside the fact that the demon-subduing Master Association and the garrison army in Zhanshan City were not to be trifled with, even if Zhanshan City was an empty city, as long as the defensive array was activated, it would take more than 2 to 4 hours for a Heavenly Dipper realm expert to break through. But the problem was, there was no evidence. Without evidence of the demon beasts invading human cities, the 7 dynasties had no way to make things difficult for the Demon King Court. Otherwise, not only would they not gain any benefits, they might even be bitten by the Demon King Court. Now, the nobles of the Shunwu dynasty were trying to confuse them by getting Black Snake, who had always been in contact with the purple-eyed youth, to take responsibility for this matter. In this way, the truth of Fang Tian degenerating into a purgatory creature would naturally be concealed. That's impossible. Even if I agree, the Demon King Court won't. Lin Yuan decisively shook his head and rejected this suggestion. After all, if he admitted that the destruction of Zhanshan City was caused by him, it would be equivalent to giving the 7 dynasties an excuse to start a war against the Demon King Court. This is today's 6th update, and I'm looking for the guaranteed monthly votes on the day after tomorrow. Chapter 190. The purple-eyed youth's expression looked as if he was suffering from constipation. After all, as a participant of the Black Snake plan, he knew very well that the Black Snake was involved in this matter. However, now that a scapegoat had stepped forward to take responsibility for the Black Snake, even the purple-eyed youth could not pin this matter on the Black Snake again. It was even more impossible for the Black Snake to admit what it had done. Black Snake, listen to me. The higher-ups want you to acknowledge the mountain-blocking city, not to find an opportunity to deal with you or the Hengduan mountain range. They just don't want to be used by people with ulterior motives and accidentally leak the matter of the Sky Demon's transformation. In addition, your strength is also very good, and you have the dragon bloodline in your body. There won't be people who are blind enough to find trouble with you. The purple-eyed youth paused, then lowered his voice and said, "Although the higher-ups did not personally ask me to do this, I can see that the higher-ups' intentions are urgent. Therefore, I have to take the risk of being discovered to contact you, the Beast King who is in the limelight." Although the matter of making Lin Yuan a scapegoat was not done by name, there were not many monsters who cooperated with the purple-eyed youth and the forces behind him. There were even fewer monsters who were Beast Kings. In addition, under Lin Yuan's manipulation, the entire Hengduan mountain range was hostile to humans. A mere airborne realm cultivator like him did not have the ability to cross the Hengduan mountain range. It's still impossible. Lin Yuan shook his huge snake head, and a pair of heterochromatic eyes flashed with impatience. Seeing the purple-eyed youth's face turn cold, Lin Yuan slowly said, "You know, although the Monster King Court usually does not bother with a monster like me who has the dragon bloodline in his body, in name, I have nothing to do with the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. I can do whatever I want in the Hengduan mountain range, but once the entire Monster King Court is involved, you should know how the Beast King will clean up the mess, right?" Although Lin Yuan rejected him again, the purple-eyed youth's eyes clearly relaxed. In this world, there was nothing that couldn't be negotiated. Lin Yuan wasn't a brainless infernal demon beast. As long as he could find a way to satisfy Lin Yuan's request, then everything would be fine. You don't have to worry about that. We just need some rumors. As long as you promise us, we'll start spreading the rumor that Mountain Blocking City was destroyed by the Black Serpent. Under the internal control of the Shenwu dynasty, the scale of this rumor will continue to expand. However, no one will be able to find any evidence. Not only did Hengduan Mountain Range not want to start a war with the Seven Dynasties, Shenwu dynasty, which had the weakest foundation among the Seven Dynasties, also didn't want to face the surviving members of the Jiao clan, the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas, and the Demon Beast Palace at the same time. These three powers could easily drag it into the swamp of war. Furthermore, how can we do this for free? Don't worry, if the Demon Beast Palace blames us, we'll naturally send our experts to deal with them. At most, we'll just exchange some benefits. There's nothing more important than stabilizing the chaotic situation here. The purple-eyed youth licked his lips and added while the iron was hot. Lin Yuan's eyes once again revealed a hint of interest. After all, for a long time in the future, the purple-eyed youth would be the hero and leader of the rebuilding of Mountain Blocking City. If he directly cut off all ties with this guy just because he used him once, it would make him seem a little petty. Secondly, he was afraid that he wouldn't have any peace in the future. Even if he didn't give face to the monk, he still had to give face to the Buddha. In this situation where the scapegoat had destroyed all the evidence, Lin Yuan still nodded his head and agreed to this difficult task. His pair of heterochromatic eyes flickered with a faint cold light, but he didn't immediately turn hostile. Then, please take care of me in the future, City Lord. Lin Yuan laughed dryly and said meaningfully. The purple-eyed youth nodded his head heavily and said with a smile, "Of course, there's no conflict of interest between us. I'll be your staunchest ally." 3 days later, a rumor from the vicinity of Mountain Blocking City was spread by an unknown survivor. The thing that destroyed Mountain Blocking City wasn't the mysterious power that everyone guessed, but the black snake that had been acting restlessly ever since he inherited the position of the three-eyed ape king. Originally, Lin Yuan was considered a little famous in the periphery of the Hengduan mountain range. Basically, all the demon slayers who worked in this field could recognize that he was the black snake from his body shape. However, in the entire human world, Lin Yuan could only be regarded as an ordinary little snake demon. No one took him seriously at all. However, at this moment, the rumor about the black snake destroying Mountain Blocking City had just spread. Obviously, the black snake's reputation in the human society couldn't be compared to before. In this disaster known as the disaster of the Berserk Python, the name of the black snake even had the effect of stopping children from crying at night in some border cities. Obviously, Lin Yuan's image, which was not good to begin with, became more and more demonic in the mouth of humans. However, some observant people keenly noticed that although the news about the Berserk Python disaster was becoming more and more serious in the Shenwu dynasty, whether it was the Demon Slayers Association or the imperial family of the Shenwu dynasty, it was as if they had never heard of the name Black Snake. No matter if it was in the open or in the dark, there was almost no movement against the Hengduan mountain range. Moreover, the source of this rumor was repeatedly suppressed. However, not only did it not disappear, it even had a tendency to become more and more intense. However, these people who spread the rumor all relied on their mouth. No one could produce any evidence at all. However, those who could see through this were all very smart people. Naturally, they wouldn't expose the last layer of fig leaf of the Shenwu dynasty. At this time, the purple-eyed youth, who was the person responsible for the reconstruction of Mountain Blocking City, was taking advantage of a cool breeze during this period of time. He was named and praised by the emperor in the Shenwu dynasty's imperial court one after another. Not only was he promoted, but the emperor even specially selected a reserve army from Shun Lin Jun, which was known as the emperor's personal army. The members of the Shun Lin Jun were all members of the imperial family or orphans left behind from the battlefield. Since childhood, they had been using special spiritual items to strengthen their bodies. It would take them a full 15 years to train to become an army. At present, this reserve army of around 3,000 Shun Lin Jun was almost the strongest fighting force under his command. Even if the army of airborne realm soldiers were not able to defeat a large number of wisdom realm monsters, once the two sides were in a deadlock, this Shun Lin Jun would not be at a disadvantage. From the signs of this reserve army being transferred, it was already clear that the emperor of the Shenwu dynasty had now regarded the monsters as a potential threat that could riot at any time. 7th Update. Chapter 191. Half a month later. The snow had just stopped, and the entire world was a vast expanse. Lin Yuan stood proudly in the middle of the stone claw forest. His heterochromatic eyes shone brightly, emitting a domineering aura. At this moment, in front of Lin Yuan, was the Xian Yang python, who had not appeared for a long time. Black Snake Beast King, long time no see. Recently, your name has been like thunder to the ears. A cold smile appeared on Xian Yang's face, and his eyes revealed a bit of coldness. The rumors that had been circulating in the Shenwu dynasty for half a month not only pointed the spearhead of the matter at Lin Yuan, but also in the Hengduan mountain range. The influence of the name Black Snake Beast King had reached its peak. Ever since the humans had taken control of the Tianwu continent, the Monster Beast clan had always been in existence that could be killed or plundered. This oppressive period lasted for hundreds and thousands of years, until the Black Snake Beast King appeared out of nowhere, directly reversing the law of the war between the two clans. Not only did it defeat the monster-subduing army that entered the Monster Beast forest, it also destroyed a border city of the Shenwu dynasty in one go. The most terrifying thing was that the Shenwu dynasty did not use this opportunity to pressure the Monster Beast clan, as if they were planning to swallow half of this anger. After a series of actions by the Shenwu dynasty, the name of the Black Snake Beast King became a mythical existence. You're too polite. If it wasn't for Lord supporting me from behind, I'm afraid I would have been torn to shreds by the Green Swamp clan. It's fine if other monster beasts call me Beast King, but we are brothers, why be so formal? Lin Yuan also smiled, but his smile was very sincere. Hearing Lin Yuan's words, Xian Yang's expression also became slightly better. After all, this black snake was able to sit firmly on the Beast King position because it and Wan Yu had killed a group of monster beasts led by the Blood Claw of the Green Swamp clan. In addition, with the help of Lord, so without their existence, this bullshit Black Snake Beast King might have already been digested by the lizards of the Green Swamp clan. At present, the Black Snake did not put on airs because of its rise in status. That was a good point. Even though Xian Yang didn't come here with any good intentions, seeing how sensible Black Snake was, Xian Yang naturally had to follow the principle of not hitting a smiling snake. He gave up his initial plan of deterrence and said with a chuckle, "My lord wants me to ask you how long it will take to finish the things at hand. After all, you should know clearly what we've done for you. Now it's time to pay back. If you fail to do it, I won't be able to explain it to my lord." When Xian Yang finished speaking, he didn't notice that Lin Yuan's eyes had narrowed. After all, under the pressure of a series of war missions, he simply did not have the time to consider how to balance the hostility between himself and the surrounding Beast Kings. Now, apart from King Kong and Bai Lu, the veteran Beast Kings had almost all been replaced with a new batch of blood. Naturally, there was no longer any enmity between them and Lin Yuan. Therefore, the arrangements that Wan Yu had made back then were all for naught. Lin Yuan felt that he had underestimated the attention that Lord paid to him. As soon as a gap appeared, that Lord immediately sent Xian Yang to urge Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan opened his mouth, but for a moment, he couldn't find the words to say. Xian Yang leisurely swayed his snake tail. The smile on his face didn't change as he said, "Of course, you are a beast king after all. You have your own responsibilities. If you really can't find the time to come with me today, it doesn't matter. However, that friend from the mountain-shaking ape clan might have to suffer for a few more days." Xian Yang didn't have the slightest intention of hiding anything. He was just short of directly telling Lin Yuan, "If you don't come with me to see Milord today, there won't be a good ending for Men Capital." As soon as his voice fell, Lin Yuan's eyes instantly became gloomy. Xian Yang's operation was an open scheme. After all, the two sides didn't have a private meeting. The old wolf, Zhuiying, and Na Qin were all nearby and heard every word of this conversation. At this moment, they were also staring at Lin Yuan with shining eyes, patiently waiting for Lin Yuan to make a decision. If placed in human society, this move of Xian Yang's could be considered murderous. Lin Yuan was just a beast king that came out of nowhere. If it wasn't for the prestige of the three-eyed ape and the support of Men Capital, how could he have become the famous Black Snake Beast King today? Because of Lin Yuan, Men Capital was captured by Yao Beast. Xian Yang directly threw the ball over. If he rashly left Stoneclaw Forest to save Men Capital, not only would Lin Yuan not be able to guarantee Men Capital's safety, he might not even be able to protect his own life. But if he left Men Capital alone? Not to mention what the old wolf and Zhuiying thought, just Na Qin, who had become the leader of the Stoneclaw tribe after Men Capital disappeared, would definitely not listen to Lin Yuan. If he dared to say no today, the prestige he had painstakingly built up would instantly scatter. Even the Yao beasts in his territory would no longer obey him, the Beast King. Fuck. I've been defeated. Lin Yuan cursed in his heart. Since he came to this world, more than half a year had passed. This was the first time a Yao beast had played with him. With just a few simple words, he was directly roasted on the fire. This kind of sinister idea obviously couldn't have come from Xian Yang. Otherwise, this guy, who was only at Wisdom Realm level 5, wouldn't have been unable to become a beast king in the outer regions of the Hengduan mountain range. At this moment, Wan Yu's voice suddenly faintly sounded from the side. "Who do you think you are? You came to my Stoneclaw Forest empty-handed and said you wanted to see our Beast King, so you'll see our Beast King. Now that we've given you enough face, why don't you take the lead?" Traitor! The moment Xian Yang saw Wan Yu appear, his eyes were instantly filled with a layer of fine blood vessels. Previously, his relationship with Wan Yu wasn't bad, but his impression of Wan Yu was that she was a brainless boorish person. But after Wan Yu joined Lin Yuan's faction, she directly blocked all avenues for Sir to recruit Lin Yuan. Moreover, she changed her previous boorish behavior and became one of Lin Yuan's think tank. This made Xian Yang feel like he was betrayed. More importantly, he didn't even see any signs of it before. Under this strong contrast, he felt like an idiot. He was being toyed with by Wan Yu and he didn't even know it. "TSK traitor? Are you calling me?" Wan Yu wriggled her snake body and stood behind Lin Yuan. She opened her mouth again. "I'm only loyal to my king. You're just a person without any power. What right do you have to call me a traitor? Could it be that you think I'm as brainless as you and can be toyed with as you wish? I advise you to wake up." Chapter 192. I won't argue with you. Xian Yang coldly snorted and turned his head to the side. He stared at Lin Yuan and asked, "Black Snake, what do you say now? Have you thought it through? Will you put down everything and leave with me, or will you wait for a while?" According to Master's intention, she would directly use an open and above-board scheme to crush Lin Yuan. She didn't plan on giving him a chance. Hee. Wan Yu sneered again and said in a cold voice, "I've already said that you're just an idle monster beast that doesn't even have a faction. It's fine if you don't pay your respects when you see my king, but you dare to call my king by his name? You don't really think that you have a chance to speak with me, Wang Ping, right? Lin Yuan saw Wan Yu's aggressive appearance and naturally gave up the stage. He only coldly looked at Xian Yang without saying anything. Very good, Black Snake, I understand your thoughts. Seeing that Black Snake didn't have any intention of stopping Wan Yu, Xian Yang coldly snorted and turned to leave. Idiot, you don't really think that we'll believe you just because you throw a sentence and say that the dodo is with you? I even invited your mother here. Wan Yu domineeringly scolded. She immediately swung her snake tail and coldly said, Na Qin, don't you want to save your dodo brother? Why don't you make a move and leave this python behind so that you can exchange it with the people guarding the dodo? Rumble. Just as Wan Yu's voice fell, Na Qin, who had already stepped into the second level of the wisdom stage, swung the stone rod in his hand and rushed forward. He didn't even consider the difference in strength between him and Xian Yang. Just hearing Xian Yang's words, this mountain-shaking ape with a violent temper was itching to fight. You're courting death. Xian Yang angrily roared and twisted his body to meet Na Qin's attack. In less than 3 moves, Na Qin's aggressive appearance had completely disappeared. Instead, he constantly dodged and blocked under Xian Yang's snake tail and flames. He had completely lost the initiative of the battle. If this continued, Na Qin would die sooner or later. We're all brothers from the same territory. You can't just watch your brothers bleed for nothing, right? Lin Yuan raised his eyelids and looked around at Old Wolf and Zhuiying who were watching the show. The Old Wolf and Zhuiying, one was at the 3rd level of wisdom perception, while the other was at the 2nd level of wisdom perception. When they heard Lin Yuan's command, they immediately joined the battle. In an instant, the 4 demonic beasts on the field fought vigorously. For a moment they even fought to the point where they felt like they were evenly matched. Lin Yuan slowly walked to Wan Yu's side. He narrowed his eyes and asked, How confident are you in exchanging Mysterious Sun for Gate Capital? 2 points. Wan Yu curled her lips and straightforwardly replied, Sir, needs the purer the bloodline of the gatherers, the better. However, if the chosen demonic beast's bloodline is not qualified, you can also use a fire attribute spirit item to make up for it. This Xian Yang is the gatherer that was chosen before you. However, looking at this unlucky kid, I'm afraid he can't see anything. He was 20% confident. Was the probability high? The answer was no. Although Wan Yu said that if the bloodline was not pure enough, he could use a fire attribute spirit item to make up for it. However, with Lin Yuan as the best choice, that Sir would definitely not value Mysterious Sun as much as he did. Unless he had something that could make that Sir feel afraid, then he might let him go. Lin Yuan's mind was spinning rapidly as he constantly thought of a countermeasure to break out of this situation. After all, once Mysterious Sun was taken down today, both sides would completely fall out. The 3 demonic beasts fought fiercely with Xian Yang for about half an hour before finally showing signs of exhaustion. Xian Yang almost broke out of the encirclement due to a moment of carelessness. Fortunately, Wan Yu, who had been observing from the side, seized the opportunity and whipped Xian Yang back into the battle. Just a moment ago, he was still awe-inspiring and looked like a general. In the end, he was forced into a dead end by Wan Yu's words. At this moment, he was battered and exhausted. Even the scales on his body were cracked by the 3 demonic beasts. From time to time, some blood would flow out. He looked like he was barely breathing. Lady Wan Yu, what do we do now? Na Qin's rod struck Mysterious Sun's skull. The terrifying force brought about vibrations that constantly reverberated in Mysterious Sun's head. As his body swayed, Mysterious Sun's entire snake body went limp. Take him away and guard him well. Don't give him a chance to escape. After a period of time, there will naturally be demonic beasts that will contact us. At that time, we can propose to exchange Mysterious Sun for Mendu. Wan Yu's thoughts were abnormally clear. She no longer had the slightest bit of stupidity from before. At this point, Wan Yu suddenly felt a chill run down her spine. She looked around and said with a trembling voice, "What's going on here? Why do I feel like I'm being watched?" Lin Yuan used his tail to lightly pat Wan Yu and said with a smile, "It's just your mind playing tricks on you. Alright, all demonic beasts have to respect the rules of the game. That Sir wouldn't personally come to the outskirts of the Hengduan mountain range to capture us, right? As long as that Sir doesn't personally come, I really don't care about a few intelligent demonic beasts." After being comforted by Lin Yuan, the fear in Wan Yu's eyes receded a little. Chapter 193. Lin Yuan's heart tightened at the innate sense of danger that beasts were born with. He glanced at Xian Yang, who was being held captive, and the sense of danger surfaced in his heart again. Could it be that the feeling of being spied on by Wan Yu was real? Were the existences of the desolate demon realm really so mysterious that even if he did not appear, they could still find out what was happening here? A sense of danger flashed across Lin Yuan's heart. After all, although the system in his body was hidden, it was not flawless. Every time he grew, he relied on killing other beasts to obtain a tribute point. Moreover, every time he leveled up, his body would grow a little. If these were seen by the existences of the desolate demon realm, or even higher, wouldn't his secret be exposed? Host, please rest assured that the system's secrecy is not something that can be detected by observation. All the changes in the host can be attributed to the mutation of the bloodline. Although there are not many similar examples, it is not unheard of. Furthermore, even though the monsters in the desolate demon realm are strong, they are still quite a distance away from becoming gods. They can't observe every corner all the time. Just now, they were just lucky enough to catch a glimpse of it. The system's voice rang in Lin Yuan's mind, as if it was a matter of course. If, and I'm saying if, your existence is discovered by other creatures, what will you do? While Lin Yuan breathed a sigh of relief, his heterochromatic eyes slightly narrowed as he frantically tested the boundaries of death. If the other party accidentally discovered you, or came to this conclusion after observing the host for a period of time, the system will immediately kill them. If the host deliberately revealed the existence of the system will kill the host and find the next suitable host to bind to. It was not that the system had never interfered in a battle before. After all, although this thing was usually like a cold artificial intelligence, it had its own temper. Previously, when the dove serpent had tried to steal the system's power, the system had attacked in anger, and the dove serpent's bones had exploded on the spot. This was also one of the reasons why the dove serpent's true body had not been able to defeat Lin Yuan. After all, the injuries that the system had inflicted on it were not something that could be healed with just a few days or 8 months of recuperation. After all, it was a system that was bound to Lin Yuan. Therefore, when the system noticed that Lin Yuan was on the verge of courting death, it immediately gave Lin Yuan a big cross and issued a warning. After all, no matter if it was in his previous life or in this life, Lin Yuan had experienced too much bloody darkness. So as long as he could achieve his goal, he didn't care what methods he used. In other words, Lin Yuan could really tell the other party about the existence of the system in order to deal with an enemy that he couldn't deal with, and then use the power of the system to wipe out the other party's existence. However, this was absolutely forbidden in the system's rules. Black Serpent, hee. You don't even know who your enemy is. Xian Yang was pressed to the ground by Na Qin's stone rod. His eyes were still filled with madness, and he looked at Lin Yuan as if he was looking at a corpse that was about to turn cold. I'm sorry, but you don't know who your enemy is either. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly and said indifferently, I have a premonition that the existence behind Xian Yang will soon send its own powerful demonic beasts to Stoneclaw Forest. Screech. As soon as Lin Yuan finished speaking, a strange roar came from the sky. Lin Yuan glanced to the side and saw two huge blue birds flapping their wings. Their cold and sharp eyes were staring at Lin Yuan and his group of demonic beasts. Although the two parties didn't communicate at all, Lin Yuan could clearly feel the enmity from these two huge birds. Feng Lei and Feng Yan are the cleaners under Milord. They specialize in dealing with those demonic beasts that don't listen to orders. Although these two fellows aren't ranked high among the cleaners, they are still at the 6th level of the wisdom state. Wan Yu's body trembled, as if she was facing a great enemy. Almost all bird-type demonic beasts were the natural enemies of snake. After all, with the body structure of snake-type demonic beasts, it was difficult for them to deal with threats from the sky. However, Lin Yuan, who controlled both ice and water, wasn't in this category. It could even be said that he was the natural enemy of all bird-type demonic beasts. After all, once their feathers were wet, it was difficult for them to continue flying no matter how strong they were. However, when facing these two huge birds that didn't conceal their enmity, Lin Yuan didn't act rashly. He could feel something familiar from these two huge birds. That was the aura of a purgatory demonic beast. Black serpent, come with us. Otherwise, die. Feng Lei and Feng Yan spoke one after another, just like a comedian in a crosstalk. Scram before I lose my temper. Lin Yuan raised his eyelids and replied without the slightest fear. With his current cultivation, fighting against a 6th-level wisdom demonic beast was a fool's dream, not to mention two of them. But even if you lose to a demonic beast, you can't lose to others. When facing a demonic beast, this kind of vicious creature, the more ferocious you are, the more other demonic beasts wouldn't dare to provoke you. Once you show your fear, the only result that awaits you is death. Feng Lei and Feng Yan looked at each other. They obviously didn't think that a mere 2nd-level wisdom demonic beast would be so arrogant. Their eyes were filled with killing intent, but seeing Lin Yuan's calm and composed appearance, they were a little scared. After all, before they set off, their master had repeatedly ordered them not to harm the black serpent's life. When a normal demonic beast heard the name Sweeper, they would be scared to death. Even Wan Yu looked as if she was facing a great enemy. However, Lin Yuan's attitude was as if he could kill them with a wave of his hand. This was one of the reasons why they were shocked. Black Serpent, I'll say it one last time. Come with us. Feng Lei flapped his wings, and a strong gust of wind hit Lin Yuan's body. Formless ice. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with a glimmer of light. In an instant, his innate ability was activated. Feng Lei's flapping wings were instantly covered in a layer of crystal-clear ice. After observing for a period of time, he found that the purgatory demonic beasts basically didn't have any innate abilities. No matter what species they were, they would all summon the same purgatory flame. In a battle where there wasn't any disagreement, once Lin Yuan made the first move, the purgatory demonic beasts could only suffer. After losing his wings, Feng Lei naturally couldn't continue to fly. He could only adjust his body and slow down his falling speed. Finally, he landed steadily on the ground. His eyes flashed with anger and humiliation as he said coldly, "You're courting death." Feng Yan instantly understood. With a flap of his wings, he turned into a streak of azure light and charged towards Lin Yuan. Chapter 10. Delivery, asking for guaranteed monthly tickets on the first of the day after tomorrow. Chapter 194. That's it. The corner of Lin Yuan's eyes twitched as he sneered. Back and forth, it's just the same few moves. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Yuan's speed was pushed to the maximum and he turned around to avoid Feng Yan's attack. Without waiting for Feng Yan to adjust his direction, Wan Yu, who was waiting at the side, had already jumped up. As a river python, Wan Yu had the terrifying strength to drag a large boat into the water. If Feng Yan was flying in the sky, it wouldn't be able to do anything. But if Feng Yan was in its attack range, it would be a different story. The attribute panel of a level 6 wisdom state demonic beast is extremely terrifying. However, at this level, attributes are not the most important thing. Innate skills are what really determine whether a demonic beast is powerful or not. If Feng Lei and Feng Yan dared to directly use the purgatory fire, Lin Yuan would naturally have no choice but to surrender. However, this is the Hengduan Mountains, the territory of the Beast Master, the Qilin. Even the Lord behind these two giant bird brothers wouldn't dare to reveal that he was actually a purgatory demon beast, let alone these two giant bird brothers. Without the terrifying innate ability of purgatory flame, Lin Yuan didn't put these two giant birds in his eyes at all. But he definitely didn't treat these two giant birds as his enemies. The demon power on Lin Yuan's panel was jumping crazily, and it was decreasing rapidly every second. However, even if Feng Yan used all his strength, he still couldn't break free from the ice shackles on his body. He could only look at Lin Yuan unhappily. On the other side, Feng Yan and Wan Yu were fighting. Although there was a difference of one level between the two, the difference in strength wasn't just a little. After losing the advantage on land, Feng Yan was almost completely suppressed. The snake and bird that were entangled together rolled crazily on the ground, flattening the ground. Countless boulders and trees were smashed, but Feng Yan still couldn't break free from Wan Yu's shackles. The so-called cleaner is only SOSO. When Lin Yuan saw that his 300 points of demon power was about to reach 0, he calmly released the shackles on Feng Yan and said expressionlessly, "I'll give face to the Lord behind you and disappear from my sight immediately. Otherwise, I won't be so polite anymore." 1 minute. With 300 points of demonic energy, Lin Yuan would be able to slaughter at least 10,000 demonic beasts in the spirit awakening realm. But when it was used to control a level 6 intelligence perception demonic beast, it could only last for a minute. Curly Moon, let go of that guy and let them scram. Seeing that Zephyr and Thunder didn't act rashly after being unbound, Lin Yuan spoke again. After receiving the order, Wan Yu no longer continued to pester Feng Yan and directly threw him to the side. However, he still maintained a state of alert, clearly worried that Feng Yan would not stop. Feng Yan crashed into a dozen trees and stood up shakily. His eyes, filled with ruthlessness, paused on Wan Yu for a moment before he turned around to look at the indifferent Feng Lei. Although he looked unwilling, he still flapped his wings and returned to Feng Lei's side. "My temper won't always be so good. So, before I get angry, disappear from my sight." Lin Yuan sat up. His heterochromatic eyes didn't have any ripples as he calmly said, "When you go back, remember to tell your lord to stop playing such tricks. I know what he wants and what he wants. Even if he uses his full strength, you won't dare to take my life. However, I can kill without hesitation. If your lord feels that he has too many subordinates, I don't mind helping him clean up a few." At this point, Lin Yuan paused, his voice filled with a trace of ridicule, and continued, "Oh, right. Quickly return the door, or else I can't guarantee that I won't say something I shouldn't." Whether it was that lord or this pair of giant bird brothers, Lin Yuan was now certain that the true core members of this demonic beast force led by Lord were all purgatory demonic beasts. Feng Lei and Feng Yan were continuously deflated and didn't continue the conversation. However, after hiding for so long, they were very clear about the rules of the Hengduan Mountains. They were also clear about the Lord's goal and request. Therefore, they only coldly glanced at Lin Yuan before spreading their wings again and quickly disappearing from Lin Yuan's sight. When the two giant birds had completely disappeared, Lin Yuan's body swayed for a moment before he collapsed like a pile of mud. He wasn't sure what demonic power was. It seemed to have nothing to do with physical strength or mental strength. However, his demonic power was almost exhausted and had already affected the state of his body. It felt like his body was being hollowed out. If he wasn't forcefully holding on to his last breath to maintain his image, he wouldn't have been able to continue pretending. Now, Lin Yuan only wanted to return to his nest and have a good sleep. On the other side, through some special method, the giant creature shared the vision of Feng Lei and Feng Yen and saw everything. It only retracted its consciousness when the giant bird brothers began their return journey. Say something I shouldn't say? Interesting, is this a threat? The giant creature's mouth opened, revealing a sinister smile. With its intelligence, it wasn't difficult to guess what the black snake meant. If it continued to force it, the black snake might report the fact that it and one of its subordinates were actually purgatory demonic beasts to the beast lord Kirin. Although it could use some small tricks to cover the aura of purgatory demonic beasts, this kind of trick obviously couldn't withstand a strict investigation. If things really went to that step, it might end up perishing together with the black snake. However, how did this guy find out that they were purgatory demonic beasts? Using a black claw to rub the space between its eyebrows, the giant creature's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. Although it really did need the purgatory heart, compared to the growth of its strength, it cared more about its safety. The black snake was the sacrifice in its plan and naturally stood on the opposite side. Although the black snake was just an ant that could be crushed at any time, the black snake that knew their secret was also a ticking time bomb. If the black snake leaked this information, this group of demonic beasts would be completely wiped out. Qi Jian, what do you think? The giant creature suddenly opened its mouth and asked. A moment later, the giant creature's shadow suddenly wriggled and a scarlet blood snake slowly crawled out from its shadow. A pair of pure black eyes fell on the giant creature's body. The snake flicked its tongue at a special frequency, as if it was using this method to communicate with the giant creature. The giant creature also revealed a thoughtful expression from time to time and nodded from time to time to express its approval. Chapter 195. When Lin Yuan woke up, it was already 3 days later. Ever since the destruction of Mountain Blocking City, he had not gone out for more than half a month. During this period of time, he had been absorbing the spiritual energy from the green leaf water lotus every day. At the same time, he had also refined the offerings from the various monsters in his territory, constantly increasing his own free attribute points in preparation for the next advancement. Although this speed was very slow, the accumulation of half a month's time was still quite considerable. System, increase my defense attribute by 50 points. With a thought, Lin Yuan added all the attribute points he had accumulated during this period of time. Host, Lin Yuan status, sky-piercing black python transforming into a flood dragon, realm, 13/20 talents, 1. Identify the enemy's location based on smell, cannot be advanced. 2. Create an accurate image of a 500-meter range based on smell, can be advanced. 0/103. Monarch of Water, your ability to control water has reached a certain level. In front of you now, most of the methods to control water flow are so shallow and inferior. As long as you have a thought, you can deprive your opponent of their ability to control water flow at any time. Can be advanced. 0/104. Formless ice, your control of the ice element has reached a preliminary stage. You are no longer the little trash who can only freeze water flow to injure others. The current you, together with your water talent, can even freeze the moisture in the air, turning your ice into formless. Can be advanced. 0/305. Blood sacrifice wish technique, use your own blood or other living creature's blood, can be replaced by attribute points, as a sacrifice to make a wish. Whether the wish is fulfilled or not depends on the strength of the wish and the quality of the sacrifice. Cannot be advanced. 6. Flood Dragon Scale Armor, when the scale armor is in good condition, it can provide the host with a 20% increase in defense. Cannot be advanced. 6. Pseudo-lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. The reason why the ancient holy kings ruled the world was because they had cultivated to the realm of lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. To cultivators, lawful embodiment of heaven and earth was the foundation of achieving Tao. After comprehending this skill, you could freely control the size of your body. The smallest size could not be smaller than the smallest size of your species, and the largest size could not exceed your original size. Can be advanced 0 out of 100 speed, 50 defense, 90 plus 18 attack, 60 demonic power, 450 assignable points, 0 martial arts, 1. Golden body secrets, 65 out of 102. Tyrannical song of the world, cannot be upgraded, skills, 1. Death coil, 279 of 302. Poison of poison liquor, 111/303. Thorn whip 2 of 304. Blood boil technique, 7 out of 105. All things have spirit, can communicate with living beings through thoughts, cannot advance. Items. Light feather, petrifying Lin Yuan had cleanly advanced to the 3rd rank of the wisdom realm. His defensive power could be said to be terrifying. It was estimated that even the turtle-type demonic beasts, which were known to be the best at defense, might not be as terrifying as Lin Yuan when they were at the same rank. He also repaired light feather in passing. After all, it was also a tool. The gliding ability was also surprisingly useful at certain times. After almost all the preparation work was done, Lin Yuan stretched his body and wriggled out of his nest. He looked at the northeast direction of the Hengduan Mountains. According to Hua Sanyang's description, the burial place of the fire Kirin was in that direction. That area was a forbidden area in the Three-Eyed Ape's records. It was very evil. The demonic beasts that lived there would often inexplicably disappear. Over time, most of the demonic beasts migrated from that area. Usually, no demonic beasts would go there. If it were not for the fire Kirin, Lin Yuan was not too willing to provoke this evil place. Hiss, who, standing on the boulder outside the waterfall, Lin Yuan took a deep breath. His snake body suddenly stretched out. The light feather on his nape once again bloomed with a layer of faint green light. An invisible force was produced, slowly supporting him forward. Ding! Congratulations to the host. Due to the complete destruction of Zhaban City, the host's enemies have either died or have evacuated from this area. Moreover, they have no intention of marching into the Hengduan Mountains again. The system automatically determined that the host has won the Black Serpent Crusade. The host is rewarded with 500 war points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the final phase of the war mission. Counterattack. Mission reward, 2,000 war points. Several system announcements sounded in Lin Yuan's mind. After destroying Zhaban City, the mission on the war model still continued. Lin Yuan initially thought that Zhaban City did not meet the mission requirements and the system wanted him to raise a few more cities. However, this was just a thought. Even if the system really meant it that way, Lin Yuan would rather have his attribute points deducted. Zhongshan City was already the limit of the Xinwu dynasty. In any case, there was still the agreement with the Three-Eyed Ape. The annual income that Zhongshan City provided to the Xinwu dynasty was pitifully low. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhongshan City had a good geographical advantage and could keep the Hengduan mountain ranges beast-tied out of the city every year, Zhongshan City would have been abandoned long ago. Special circumstances could be treated differently. However, the other few border cities were all treasures of the Xinwu dynasty. As long as Lin Yuan dared to touch them, no matter how clean his hands and feet were, the Xinwu dynasty would never let him off. System: open the war treasury and exchange for the star concealment map. Lin Yuan raised the corner of his mouth and directly issued an order to the system. The star concealment map was something that Lin Yuan came across by chance when he was looking through the war treasury. It was just a small map, but it contained the changes of thousands of stars. If he focused his attention, he could comprehend the changes of the stars. According to the settings in the novels in his previous life, the talented protagonists would often be able to comprehend a few killer moves. However, Lin Yuan was now disappointed with his own talent. If it were not for the system, he might not be able to reach the wisdom state in this lifetime. However, visualizing the star concealment map was not without benefits for Lin Yuan. At least, it could strengthen his mental strength and demonic power. Ding. 5,000 war points deducted. Ding. The star concealment map has been successfully exchanged. Please check it in the host's backpack. When the system broadcast sounded, a relieved smile appeared on Lin Yuan's face. In fact, the 3 missions and the rewards from winning the war did not even reach 5,000 war points. However, Lin Yuan had not been idle for the past half a month. The reinforcements sent from the nearby cities patrolled around Mountain Blocking City and activated many small war missions. This allowed Lin Yuan to accumulate enough war points. Lord Beast King, the White Deer Beast King, has sent a messenger. Would you like to meet him? Na Qin stood beside the lake and looked at Lin Yuan, who was gliding freely on the lake. He could not help but shout at the top of his lungs. Badu, who had been disturbed from his dream, pushed open the stone door and walked out angrily. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.